Hey, number 3. Really off quicker.
Miami has a dog. The greatest football team. We take the ball from goal to goal like...
Welcome to another edition of the PhinManiacs podcast. We're bringing you a podcast live for the NFL Draft Thursday night. It's a big night for everybody in the NFL. Every team is excited tonight. Every team's excited to see which player they're going to add to their team. And there's been mock draft after mock draft going on this week. Everyone wondering who's going to go where. There's been a lot of drama this week in the draft with players getting caught with drug suspensions, players being caught with drugs on them, people being involved in murder investigations, and all of it's affecting the order of the draft. So we'll try to bring you up to speed. We'll give you a lot of analysis on what we expect the Dolphins to do. We're going to have Jeff Hyde joining us on the draft, who was a big contributor to the PhinManiacs draft guide, and so he will be giving us analysis on players. So it should be a fun show. We'll try to keep you up to speed on all the new developments going on as the players start coming off the board. And overall, we're going to have some fun. All right, I think Jeff is joining us right now. I don't know if you can hear me yet, Jeff, but let me know if you can.
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Great, great.
Perfect.
So I thought probably what we'd do for tonight's podcast, obviously with the draft going on, we'll be talking about the draft completely. I thought we could catch everybody up to speed on some of the transactions this week, and then we'll also talk about some of the hot names going around that people are tying the Miami Dolphins to with the 14th overall pick. So real quickly, it's been a busy week here. We've had several players join the team. The big one, of course, being that Philip Wheeler went to the San Francisco 49ers, probably the best player in Dolphins history. Joking, of course. No, the big signing was Greg Jennings, who brings a veteran wide receiver to the Dolphins. For all intents and purposes, he would figure in to be their third wide receiver on the team, joining Jarvis Landry and Kenny Stills to give Miami a solid wide receiving core. More importantly, too, it really puts up in the air if Miami is going to be looking at wide receiver with the 14th overall pick. I think prior to that signing, it seemed very, very likely Miami was going to make a move for wide receiver early in the draft, but with the addition of Greg Jennings, I don't think that's necessarily a need pick at this point. So what do you think, Jeff? Do you see Miami's need for wide receiver changing with Greg Jennings?
No, I don't. I think wide receiver going forward needs to be a point of emphasis for sure. There's a lot of guys in this draft that could definitely help out, a lot of guys that fit the system that Bill Lazor wants to run, specifically Devontae Parker. I am just praying that we can get him at 14. Nelson Aguilar is another guy that can potentially fit the mold that we're trying to bring in. Greg Jennings is great. I mean, don't get me wrong, he has a veteran presence. He'll help Jarvis Landry, Kenny Stills, all those guys. He'll help them improve in the locker room, in the film room. But we need that number one. We need a tall guy. We need, just someone that can just help everybody out, help Tannehill improve. I don't think they have it right now. It's the potential's there, but I wouldn't mind adding a Devontae Parker. I know you guys might not like it, but a DGB, Dorial Green Beckham, he's one of my personal favorites. But I think we need somebody else here in the draft early.
Great. Yeah, I agree with you. Whether or not it's Devontae Parker is so hard to tell because this draft is absolutely stacked with wide receiver talent, and so it's really going to be interesting to see where everybody has these guys on their boards when they come off, because Devontae Parker, I think there's a really good chance he will be available, but there are rumors that Miami's even looking to move up to go after somebody like Amari Cooper or somebody like those lines, so it's really hard to say. I personally think the second round is going to have some solid wide receiver talent still in it as well, and so that's going to factor in too as we look to see where they start to fall. A couple other minor pickups this week for Miami was Jeff Linkenbach as well as Jaquez McClendon, who are both offensive linemen who figure to, at the very least, give Miami some veteran depth in the trenches. And they also put Miami into a position where I don't think they have to necessarily draft more than one guard in this draft now. I think Miami still needs a starting caliber guard in this draft, but I think with those two guys on board, they kind of start to fill in those holes that we lost with players like Nate Gardner for guys that can come in and play guard. In terms of the draft, there's been it almost has been a stunning development. I've never seen this with Lyle Collins. The information is very sketchy, and I don't think we're going to get clear information before the draft is over. But obviously, what had happened this week is a girl that he's rumored anyway to have had some sort of relationship with was murdered, and the police want to question him. Now, to be clear, he hasn't been. He's not being charged with murder, and I don't believe he's even a suspect, but he does need to be questioned. And so what's up in the air right now is what his involvement is with that. And so there are, he was probably one of the top 1 or 2 rated offensive linemen in this draft. And there are some people saying he won't get drafted at all. There's some people expecting him to fall. And so with him out of the mix now, that will shake up a little bit the first round, I think, with the offensive linemen. So I guess my question to you, Jeff, is what do you think right now for offensive linemen? Are there any you see Miami targeting in the first round?
It's Lyle Collins was top. I mean, for me, he was top 1 or 2 behind Brandon Scherf to take. But at this point, with all the speculation going on and all the personal issues that the Dolphins seem to have run into as of late, I mean, Lyle Collins has got to be completely off their board. I would imagine. There's rumors of him not, being questioned until after the draft, which kind of makes it, you could potentially waste a first or second round pick on this guy, and who knows what's going to happen. So at this point, you have to completely take him off your board, I think, unfortunately, even though I think he could have been a great fit to fill in for Miami at guard and potentially at tackle once Brandon Albert gets a little bit older. But yeah, I'd take him completely off the board right now.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd take him completely out of the draft, but I don't think you can draft him in the first round at this point. Unfortunately for me, he was one of my top picks from a mock standpoint because I feel like guard right now is the only position Miami still needs a starting player at. I mean, I know they have other needs. Wide receiver is obviously a need. I think linebacker is a need. But, I mean, you can start Komisi at inside linebacker and still have a solid player. You can start Greg Jennings as their third wide receiver and still have a starting player, but I don't think anybody wants to see them starting Dallas Thomas at right guard or left guard. So I think that was a need pick, and I thought Collins was a great fit for them. He's a very physical lineman, but I agree with you. And obviously from I'm no investigator or police or anything like that, but they can't give any information because they haven't talked to the guy. So really nobody knows, even the police themselves, what his involvement is. If it's nothing but a minor questioning, I don't think that information can be released. So you're going to see him obviously fall through the draft, but I personally think once you start getting, into the middle of the draft, it won't happen tonight, but you get into the 4th or 5th round, I might start thinking about rolling the dice because if he's just a guy in a very unfortunate circumstance that he had nothing to do with, he would be an absolute steal if you got him in the middle of the draft. So, I did hear
you've never seen before, It's
really hard to wrap. Yeah, it's hard to wrap.
Yeah.
Wrap your mind around it, but they, the interesting thing just in the last couple hours anyway, that have come out is his agent tried to get the NFL to release him from the draft so he could re-enter the supplemental draft until this all gets straightened out, and the NFL denied it. So he's going to have to either go through this draft or he won't be playing football in the league next year. So it'll be very interesting to see if he gets drafted at all. That was the big acquisitions this week, where a couple of linemen I see is veteran backup linemen, and then Greg Jennings. The other couple big news items, one was Deion Jordan, which I personally wasn't surprised to find out Deion Jordan got suspended, because as soon as he didn't start showing up for the voluntary programs, I really started to wonder, and I know some people were speculating that maybe it was due to the team was trying to trade him, so they didn't want him to come in and get possibly hurt. But the reality is it's pretty low risk to get to get hurt just working out. And so I kind of wondered if that was the case. But with that being said, Deion Jordan is now gone for the year. Whether or not he'll be a Miami Dolphin next year or he'll even return to the league, is now up in the air. But I guess the question is, Miami has some young talent on their team, players like Terrence Fede, and they have Derek Shelby, to go in there that are, backing up Olivier Vernon and Cameron Wake. So in terms of the Deion Jordan suspension, do you feel like that's going to change Miami's draft strategy at all, Jeff?
No, it shouldn't. I mean, Deion Jordan barely played as it is. He always had that potential to be that big breakout stud, but OV stepped up. Derek Shelby has played absolutely off the rails for Miami in limited time. I think his time next year, given a couple more steps, he'll be able to fill that role that Deion Jordan was able to play. Chris McCain has stepped up big. I don't think there's any need to draft high for a pass rusher or a linebacker. Outside linebacker, pass rusher type of guy. If anything, you can find one late. There's a lot of late guys that have a lot of upside. We found Chris McCain last year, and he came on from game one. He stepped up right away. So I have faith in Dennis Hickey to find, that perfect, the pass rusher, the athletic guy to kind of come in and fill Deion Jordan's spot. I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, the guy, he's given everything in the world, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. But I think if we just kind of hang tight, we don't need a top 2, a round 2 pick. We don't need a round 4 pick. If we find someone in the later rounds, yeah, that's fine. Even an undrafted free agent could kind of step in for the Dolphins. So I think we're all set here for now.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't believe they'll change their draft strategy either, just because they've had a surplus at the position. So I'd be surprised. It could get interesting in the second round with a player like Shane Ray, who, relative to what happened, was pretty minor to have possession of marijuana. But, obviously it's going to make him fall. And so, if they get a player that has that talent caliber, I could potentially see Miami grabbing him in a later round. But I don't think, even though this draft has some really good edge rushers in it, I don't expect Miami to pick. I think everybody would be very surprised if they did do that. Going on to the next order of business for updates, this just came out in the last day or so, as Ryan Tannehill's option was picked up by the team, which means when these rookies sign a contract, a lot of teams work in a fifth-year option, which means, for a set percentage of what the position pays, they can guarantee that player will stay another year under contract. So essentially what it means is Miami has Ryan Tannehill locked up for the 2016 season, but it is at a very high cap number. I want to say it was reported around the $14 million range. So obviously it's going to be in the best interest of the team to try to work out a long-term deal with him prior to next season with that cap number. I was personally disappointed that they didn't get an extension worked out, because I'd like to have seen Tannehill, sign a member more like a 4 or 5 year deal, at least, rather than just having his option picked up. But I really don't think it's that Miami is cold on Tannehill or Tannehill doesn't want to sign. I think the issue at hand is the position itself. There's a lot of quarterbacks in that class that are starters. Andrew Luck, Russell Wilson, RG3. A lot of their people are wondering what kind of deals they're going to get, and so I think a lot of everybody is sitting back and waiting to see what long-term deals get signed. With that being said, I don't think we're going to see that position, but I'll ask you, Jeff, do you think Miami has any quarterbacks on their radar for the draft?
Say that again, Matt. I didn't catch that last part.
Oh, that's okay. I just was covering, after Ryan Tannehill's option was picked up with Tannehill, Matt Moore, and now Josh Freeman. I just wondered if you thought Miami had any quarterbacks on their radar at all in this draft.
Oh, I don't think it's a need at all. You can find something like that as an undrafted free agent. This quarterback class as it is a little bit weak. I don't see any more than Winston and Mariota being any significant players coming out of this class. So I think the Dolphins would be wise to just hold the picks that they have. Don't waste anything on a potential third or fourth string quarterback. So I just would hope and assume that they stay away from all the quarterbacks in this class this year.
A good deal. I hope you're right as well. I don't, with the quarterbacks they have, I don't see any need at all. Maybe somebody undrafted after the draft or something like that to come in and compete in camp. But I'd be absolutely stunned if they made a move to go draft a quarterback. I think it was Omar Kelly this week that was trying to throw out the idea of trading Tannehill for 2 number 1 picks. But
Omar Kelly is a class act. I love Omar for sure.
Yeah, he never misses a chance to hammer Tannehill, it seems like, that's for sure.
I'm a big Omar fan, for sure.
In terms of the draft, obviously you mentioned it earlier when we talked about positions, that you have Devontae Parker. You'd love to see him come into Miami. We talked a little bit on past podcasts, but, the talk just isn't going away, and I would say the most polarizing player in the draft right now is Todd Gurley. So, you've done a lot of research, and I have not personally watched a lot of film on Todd Gurley. I'm a little concerned that the team themselves had a very good line, and I can't think of the guy's name, but the running back that came after his injury seemed to do really well as also. And so I wonder, and so I wonder how good is Todd Gurley. I keep hearing this once in a decade. Adrian Peterson, LaDainian Tomlinson type player. Do you think he is that?
I do. I really do think that Todd Gurley is, a once in at least 5-year player. He's a great running back. He's huge. He's young. He's fast. He's a breakout star. He's a sprinter. And once he breaks free, there's no stopping him. He does remind me a lot of Adrian Peterson, but with the injury concerns, I would kind of put him in the DeMarco Murray range. He's big, he's physical, but he does have those injury concerns that a lot of teams will be looking, they'll be looking for. So I think at 14, I would be surprised, shocked, but I would also be take him because I think he could add a lot to this Miami Dolphins team. He's a great pass blocker. With this up-and-coming line, if we can solidify the line just a little bit more in this draft, Todd Gurley could completely take over this offense later in the season in the playoffs, and then add him to Lamar Miller, Ryan Tannehill. I really do think he is a missing piece in this offense. He really is that good. A lot of people might disagree with me, but I would definitely take him at 14 if Devontae Parker is not available. Todd Gurley would be my second choice for sure.
Okay, that's my next question I was going to ask you is, would you take Parker or Gurley? So I think both players have a real strong possibility to be available when the Dolphins pick. I think there is a lot of smoke being thrown out there about Gurley right now. Obviously, he's extremely talented, but the biggest issue with him is you just don't know when he's going to be available again. And so I know that they put out some good medical reports, but I personally, with injuries had, I really don't expect him to be ready to go at the beginning of the season. And so you're looking at a player that you're probably going to be counting on maybe more like mid-season, and then obviously the following years you're hoping that he remains healthy and can return to form. So that's interesting to see where he's going to go. I would say there's a huge contingent of fans out there that are really pushing to get Gurley if he's there with the pick. I wouldn't say he's a need pick. I'll give you mine first. I'm curious what you have to think, Jeff, in terms of need. But in terms of need, I think offensive guard is the number one need right now for the Miami Dolphins. I know it's not an exciting pick, and everybody is thinking, oh, God, not another offensive lineman. But you do have to keep into perspective for Dennis Hickey what he walked into last year after the whole Jeff Ireland and the scandals with Richie Incognito and Jonathan Martin. Miami literally needed 4 starting offensive linemen coming into last year, and that's exceptionally difficult to fill in one off season. And so I thought he did a sensational job getting in 2 starting tackles that were solid, getting Billy Turner in there. I think he's close, and so now what we have left is to get that last guard position filled. My number 2 need position right now is linebacker, and more specifically inside linebacker. I think we have Jelani Jenkins did a great job last year in pass coverage as well as run defense, and so I think he's a great weak side linebacker. Cole Misi was kind of the tale of two halves. And when the season started, I thought he was looking good, but once he hurt his ankle, he really tapered off when he came back. And I think inside linebacker absolutely is a need position. I'd like to see Cole Misi moved back outside to strong side linebacker, especially now that Deion Jordan's gone. I think Chris McCain can factor in parts of the linebacker somewhere, but I just don't think he's ready to be a complete linebacker yet. And so I really think the ideal scenario is for Miami to go get an inside linebacker in this draft, and I'd put that as a high need, probably the second need on the team. Going from there, I'd probably say maybe cornerback and wide receiver about the same level. Miami could obviously use another solid corner, opposite of Brett Grimes that could take over for him in a year or two. But they brought in some talent with Bryce McCain and Bowman as far as extra defensive backs. Jamal Taylor, not Jamal Fletcher. God, Jamal Taylor will be, I think, stepping up to be the number 2 corner this year. So I don't see that it's a drastic need, but a lot of people are picking corner right now for Miami in this draft. So I guess in terms of my question for you, Jeff, what do you see right now? I know not best player available approach, but what's the biggest need approach right now for the Dolphins?
I think as far as biggest need right now, I would go with a playmaker, Devontae Parker, Todd Gurley, if they're there. If not, though, you have to start looking at the needs on defense, the inside linebacker position, the cornerback position. Brent Grimes is not getting any younger. You still don't know what you have with Will Davis and Jamar Taylor. I do love Marcus Peters a lot. I know there's a lot of off-field issues and attitude issues with Marcus Peters that have been discussed with his time at Washington. But Marcus Peters is in my opinion, he's a top 5 talent in this draft. I think he's a great shadow corner. He's terrific on the ball. He's physical. He's aggressive. He can tackle. I think as far as inside linebacker goes, Eric Kendricks has always been a personal favorite of mine. His coverage skills are off the charts. He's a tackling machine. He's the all-time leading tackler at UCLA. He's fast. He is physical. He's a bit undersized for an inside linebacker, but I think he fits exactly what the Dolphins want to do on defense. You can move Cole Misi back outside, Jelani Jenkins on the other side, and you can just stick Eric Kendricks right in there, fill up all the gaps. And Ndamukong Suh will take up 2 guys at one time. Kendricks will fill the gaps. It's a bit of a reach as far as a lot of other draft people are concerned, but Kendricks at 14, I'd be thrilled with. Peters at 14, I'd be thrilled with. So right now I would say Parker, Gurley, Peters, Kendricks are my top 4 at 14. I hope one of them falls.
Yeah, I think Kendricks will be available. Personally, I think he will be at 14, and I'd be absolutely fine with Miami taking him. For whatever reason, I like Denzel Perryman from Miami. I think he's an ideal run-stopping inside linebacker. Obviously, a lot of people are concerned about his coverage skills, but I really think Perryman would be a player available in the second round of the draft, so I've been keeping an eye on him.
He'd be absolutely fantastic at 47. I'd be so happy.
Yeah, I think it's a chance. I mean, it's risky if he'll fall that far, but I think there's a real, inside linebacker just isn't a premium position for the Dolphins, or for the league, I should say. And typically, that's the same case with running back anymore, but obviously Todd Gurley is so talented that, he's getting a lot of, excitement about him going high. Now, the other running back is Melvin Gordon, and Miami right now has Damian Williams as their number 2 running back, who he flashed last year. He looked good, but I think Miami obviously needs to add another running back into the mix. I would say preferably somebody that can power run. And so right now, in terms of a running back, if Todd Gurley's off the board, do you have a favorite you'd like to see Miami go after? Maybe late in the second and 4th round, I should say.
I wouldn't touch anybody in the second round. I think it's a little bit too high, unless, of course, Melvin Gordon somehow falls there. But later in the draft, I love David Johnson, Northern Iowa running back. Mike Davis from the University of South Carolina. There are so many. There's let's see. There's that kid Zenner from I think he's from South Dakota. He's a hard runner. Anybody that runs hard is going to have a great time in Miami because they are going to completely out physical everybody else on the offensive line. If Brandon Elbert comes back healthy, if Jawan James improves, if Billy Turner is exactly who we thought we would be. I think if we can just grab a power runner to add with Lamar Miller, I think we'll be just fine. Buck Allen is another guy who is great between the tackles. He's from Southern California. He's great in the backfield. He can catch passes. He'd be a great 1-2 with Lamar Miller. This is a very, very deep running back class, and I think if we miss out on Gurley, it's not the end of the world. There's a lot of guys. David Cobb from Minnesota. If we can somehow snag him, which I don't think would be possible unless we grab a third-round pick, but I think David Johnson would be a great fit. Buck Allen would be a great fit, and Zach Zenner from South Dakota would be perfect.
Yeah, good names. I watched David Johnson at Northern Iowa, and he's unbelievably fast for how big he is. I'm a little concerned he runs a little bit upright, but in terms of exciting with the ball in his hands, he's explosive.
I almost compared him to Daniel Thomas, but
don't do that.
I almost did it, but he's much better than that. He's quicker. He's got those fast, quick movements, and he doesn't have those slow feet like Daniel Thomas does. So
yeah,
I do like him a lot more.
He'd be fun to watch for sure because he is a guy that can hit home run. He's that fast, out of the backfield, even at 230 or so. I want to say that's roughly what he was weighing in at the combine. Well, the draft is just getting ready to kick off here. In terms of the draft right now, Jameis Winston obviously is pretty much a lock to go the number one overall to the Buccaneers. I don't suspect that's going to change. It would take a monster trade, I think, at this point. So I think the big excitement in this draft is going to be the number 2 pick because I don't suspect Tennessee wants to take a quarterback. I think they will take Mariota if they have to, but I think there's going to be a lot of draft talk going on. There's going to be a lot of maneuvering for people that need a quarterback because, let's face it, in the NFL, you need to have a good quarterback to win. You just have to look at the teams that are consistently making the playoffs and making pushes for the Super Bowl, and they're the teams that have the Tom Brady's, the Peyton Manning's, the Drew Breeses, the Aaron Rodgers. So those are the best teams in the NFL, and the way you get up there is to get a hold of those quarterbacks, and it's pretty much impossible. I know Peyton Manning came loose, a few years ago in free agency, but that just doesn't happen. And so the only way you can really get your franchise quarterback is through the draft, and that puts a premium on players that have the potential to be a franchise quarterback. So I think for that reason, you're going to see some serious action at the number 2 pick for teams trying to move up in the draft. I personally think the chances that Miami is going to move up in the draft are unlikely. I know Tannenbaum has a history of it, but for you, Jeff, if you were going to trade off some picks to make a move, is there a player you think in this draft that Miami should be moving up for or would consider moving up for?
Really all depends on how the first couple of picks go. If you see Amari Cooper and Kevin White come off the board really quick, I would be all for the Dolphins trading up maybe a couple spots for Devontae Parker. I think that he is the clear number 3 in this draft class, but there's a pretty big gap between the number 3 and the number 4. So if they really want their wide receiver, the Dolphins do have an extra 5th round pick that they could potentially trade out of to go up to get Devontae Parker. Other than that, I don't think the linemen are that impressive. There's really nobody else. They don't need a quarterback. They don't need anything else. I think the only thing they would trade up for is a wide receiver, and it all depends really what Jacksonville does, what Oakland does at the wide receiver position. But if you see Amari Cooper, fall back a little bit, if you see Kevin White fall back a little bit, I'd stay put at 14 as long as I can, because even if you don't get Devontae Parker, no big deal. This is a wide receiver heavy class. You have plenty of needs as far as linebacker, cornerback, running back if you want Todd Gurley. I think the Dolphins should stay put unless you start to see the running backs come, or the wide receivers come off the board really early. So we'll see. We'll see how that all unfolds.
I agree with you. I don't think they're going to move up, but just out of curiosity, as you're talking about the Amari Coopers and the Kevin Whites, do you think there's a big gap? I've seen a lot of people claim anyway that that's what they feel, that Amari Cooper and Kevin White are a significantly higher value or a more talented player than Devontae Parker, or do you think they're pretty close, like those three players?
I think they're really close. I love Devontae Parker. I think Amari Cooper, Kevin White, and Devontae Parker are all going to have very successful careers in the NFL. So it all depends on where they go, but those three right there, you can't go wrong. So I don't think trading up for one of them will do any better than holding tight if you can grab one. You know what I mean? After that, after Devontae Parker, there's question marks. Nelson Aguilar is, he's a great wide receiver. He does a lot of things in the return game as well. He's got pretty good hands, but there's still question marks about his health. And DGB, there's a lot of question marks about his off the field stuff. So I think those top three guys, if you can stay put and get one of those guys, you definitely stay put. They're all basically the same in my book.
Sure. Another name that seems to be tied to the Dolphins is Jalen Strong. How do you feel about him? Is he a second-round talent? Is he even a first-round talent? Where do you rate him at relative to a Devontae Parker? Is he pretty close, or you think not even close?
He's great. It depends on where he goes, what quarterback he's teamed up with, what offense he's paired up with. But I think that Devontae Parker can do a lot of things on his own to take over the game. I think Jalen Strong needs a good offense, a good, well-designed offense, a great quarterback, because he doesn't have the wingspan that Devontae Parker has. He needs someone to throw it to his hands in order to catch it. He does a great job of bodying people. He uses his huge body. Jalen Strong is he is exactly what his last name says. He is very, very strong. And, he needs a good quarterback to throw it to his body in order to body people out. Devontae Parker kind of, he makes things happen on his own. He's got great, quick, subtle movements to help him get open, whereas Jalen Strong just kind of bodies people out and steals them from the cornerback,
Sure.
I think Devontae Parker is he's in a league of his own, and Jalen Strong's going to be a great receiver as well in the league, but Devontae Parker has the potential to be a top 10 receiver in this league for quite a while, I think.
Yeah, I agree completely. I'm hoping they get him, but in the circumstance if he's taken, I'm just kind of exploring who is that next wide receiver on their board. Is there another receiver that is a first round? I think Darrell Green Beckham, as you mentioned, he's the most intriguing. He's got Calvin Johnson type talent. He just has to have his head on straight. So it'd be interesting to see what team wants to take the chance on him. Miami suddenly becomes a great alternative, or a great option, I should say, for him, because with Greg Jennings in there, you can bring in a guy like that really doesn't need to come in and start immediately. You can start having him work, with receivers coaches and have him learning from, Greg Jennings and Jarvis Landry, and putting him in that atmosphere. You could have a real weapon by the middle of the season, and definitely going into next season. So I think he is a player that might be attainable in the second round, so it'll be very interesting to watch that. Lewis, I see you're in the room. Can you hear me right now, Lewis?
Yes, I can, Chad. How are you guys?
Doing good. We're going to let Lewis talk. Lewis right now is at, I call it Joe Robbie Stadium. Some people call it SunLife Stadium, but he's at the team's official draft party. And what's going on over there, Lewis?
Well, everybody here is really excited. They're all huddled around the big screen, and the Phinsiders are still doing their draft coverage, so there's a whole bunch of fans on there. I mean, it's practically standing room only. Everybody's doing, like, there's events like 40-yard dashes. There are a bunch of alumni players like Don McNeil and Bob Brzezinski here. They're signing autographs. Jawan James and Jelani Jenkins are signing autographs as well. And, I mean, the excitement here is it's electric in the air. You can feel they're excited about whoever it is they're going to pick, or they're getting ready to rage about if somebody else that they didn't like is going to get picked.
Yeah, I clearly Jeff is politicking for Devontae Parker right now, so he's going to rage if he's on the board and they did let him go by, I think.
I'm raging. Let's go. Selection.
I have no doubt that if Parker's the pick, then I'm sure that everybody here is going to be really excited, except for the one or two Jet fans that I've seen, and I think a Cowboy fans around here too.
Yeah, I did see pictures of the Jets fans coming through. That's kind of funny. So I see that the Buccaneers are taking their sweet time right now, letting the clock tick down on picking Winston, but should be kicking off here pretty soon to get the first player off the board, and we should get some excitement rolling in. But well, we got you there, Lewis. Who's your favorite? Who's your pick for 14 if you're the Dolphins?
At this point, if he's on the board, my pick is Devontae Parker, but if he's not there, then I guess it's a mix between hopefully Todd Gurley or Marcus Peters or someone along those lines, because I would have said Lyle Collins, but thanks to the whole controversy that's surrounding him, all of a sudden I don't see him being a very realistic pick in the first round or even the second at this point. At this point, it's looking like he may wind up going undrafted because of the controversy that's surrounding him all of a sudden. So I would say that it's Devontae Parker for me, and if not, then Todd Gurley.
Oh, man. Thank you, Lewis. Awesome. Good picks.
Yeah,
I'm going to get out of that later, because the idea of drafting a running back at 14, no matter how talented he might be.
He is so good. He's head and shoulders above the rest, though, I promise you.
Yeah, I saw that.
I believe you, man.
The recurring theme is the fan base wants to see a player that can put points on the board. They don't want another. They definitely don't want another defensive lineman, I don't think, and especially with Collins out, there right now with that surrounding him. I don't. I'm from Iowa, and I'm just not that big right now on Sheriff. So I know he's got fundamentally he'd be a good lineman, but I just don't know if he's a number 14th overall pick if I can go there or not. So I'd like to see somebody that can put our point production up, another touchdown a game. And so clearly Parker or Gurley are guys that can do that very thing. So it's going to be interesting because those players have been mocked to be, both of them have shown in several mocks to be picked in before the Dolphins get on the board. So with that being said, if Gurley and Parker are off the board, what are you guys' thoughts on trading down? Would you trade back, into the mid-20s? I've seen a lot of people saying the Dolphins are talking to the Cowboys about potentially moving back if a player that Cowboys targeting is on the board. What do you guys think? You think it's feasible?
I would absolutely move down. And if we decide to move down, I can see the Dolphins going after someone like a Jalen Strong or a Nelson Aguilar. Somebody like that would be a really good help for the Dolphins and also give us more picks to move forward, moving on. Maybe somebody like Philip Dorsett, or maybe somebody like Eric Kendricks, if it's at all possible, considering that he's probably one of the top linebackers in this draft. If not, I would get Denzel Perryman in the second round or something like that, and maybe draft somebody like DJ Humphries or somebody like that. The big question at this point is who's going to come off the board. We know it's going to be Jameis Winston first. It's likely going to be Marcus Mariota second. Of course, we don't know exactly which team is going to be picking it second overall, but whoever it is going to be getting a quarterback that's a lot like our own Ryan Tannehill, and perhaps that if it does wind up being Philadelphia, that's probably Mariota's best chance to succeed. I would absolutely want to trade down. I will give how much he can actually get for this, and if it's at all possible, I would do it in a heartbeat. There are a lot of players down in the lower part of the first round, and I would like to jump at the chance to get more picks because this is a very middle of the draft heavy kind of talented class.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think if we could trade down, that'd be the most ideal in this draft class. Every position is so deep as far as late first round, second round, third round talent. So if we can trade back a little bit, maybe instead of a Marcus Peters, you could pick up a Kevin Johnson. Instead of a Devontae Parker, you can pick up a Darrell Green Beckham in the late first round, second round, maybe pick up an extra third round. I think that would be absolutely the most ideal. But it's really tough to do. I wonder what it's like in the draft room for the Dolphins right now.
Yeah, if you guys haven't looked on, if you go to the MiamiDolphins.com, they had a interview. I think it was John Kajemi. It was interviewing Dennis Hickey, and they had him inside the war room, and it was wow. I mean, it was so technical. It was unbelievable. They had everything digital and screens everywhere, and so Miami definitely is using technology in their war room right now. And it's interesting because I think they assign jobs. So I really wonder when those calls come in for the trades, are they talking to Tannenbaum? Are they talking to Hickey? So I'm hoping we get some looks inside that war room to see what's going on and how they're interacting. All right, looks. I believe Winston has come off the board, and we have Tennessee on the clock right now. So no shock there, Jameis Winston. On the board, I see the Titan fans right now. I'm kind of watching the coverage right now. Are freaking out right now, getting ready for who knows what's going to happen right now with the second pick in the draft. So I don't know. I mean, what would you guys take if you're the number 2 right now and you're Tennessee and you can take Marcus Mariota, and clearly the Titans could use a new quarterback. What would it take for you guys to move out of this pick? Would it take a second, first-round pick, or what would it take for you to pull the trigger, Jeff?
I right now I would take Mariota because he is very coveted by a lot of teams right now. Even if you can't trade him right now, you know that he can either potentially compete for the job with Zach Mettenberger, or in the preseason in the summertime. If a team like the Browns or the Eagles or the Jets, they don't like the quarterback situation, you can always trade him after the fact too. So even if you can't make a trade right now, I think the smart pick is Marcus Mariota right now for the Titans.
So you would place it. So if you had 2 number 1 picks, you'd still sit on it, you think? Like if Tim offered you a number 1 this year and a number 1 next year, let's say the Jets.
That's a tough call. If the Jets offered me their pick this year and a first-round pick next year, I'm pulling the trigger for sure. Number 6. I mean, at number 6 this year, you can get a load of talent, and I'm a big believer in Zach Mettenberger. I loved him last year. I think he showed some things this year. So if someone was to offer me, a swap for first and then a first next year, I'm definitely pulling the trigger.
Okay, it looks like the pick is in. So from everything I can tell, I don't believe the Tennessee Titans traded this off. So I got to assume that's what the pick is. I think it would be stunning if they went with Leonard Williams or something along those lines right now. I agree with you. If I got another number 1 pick in the mix, I think I'd have to pull the trigger because there's going to be some more quarterbacks coming next year. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm just not that high on the quarterback class, Winston or Mariota. I don't think it's anything like when Tannehill went, when he had Andrew Luck and RG3 and Russell Wilson and all those guys. I don't think I feel comfortable that those guys are your franchise quarterback right now. I don't know what you guys feel. Do you feel like they are the top 2 picks in the draft? How do you feel like compared to other top quarterbacks in the last few years?
I think they are. I think Jameis Winston is very, he has the capability to be a number 1 quarterback. I think Mariota will take a little bit of time, a lot like Tannehill did, but I think both of them, given the right circumstance, the right coaching, that they can both be very productive starters in this league. After that, though, that's where the big drop-off comes. I don't see another starter in this entire draft class outside of these top 2. That's why they're going number 1 and maybe number 2 here.
Yeah, I agree with you. I figured I thought that in a normal draft where you might have had 2 or 3 other quarterbacks that were comparable, that you might have seen them fall a little bit. That really is your only chance right now are those 2 guys. So it doesn't shock me. I'd be stunned right now if the Titans didn't take him. Looks like Roger Goodell is announcing the pick right now, and it is indeed Marcus Mariota. So there you go. There's the value of the quarterback shown firsthand. Bang, bang, first 2 picks in the draft. So I don't believe they're the in terms of talent. I don't know that they're the 2 most talented players in this draft, but the quarterback position has just become so valuable that you don't have a choice but to take your shots when you get them at a franchise quarterback. Now it gets interesting, and for us Dolphins fans, it gets real interesting because we're bringing teams in now that have some need at the wide receiver position with Jacksonville and Oakland. And so it's going to be very interesting. There's some talented defensive players, and I think what we want right now to happen is we want to see some of these skill players fall a little bit. We want to see Gurley and even Cooper and White. We want to see them fall a little bit because the further they fall in the draft, the more likely that means Parker will be available for the Dolphins. So it's going to be interesting. You've been doing a lot of work with the draft, Jeff, and I'm sure you've done several mocks. Who do you think Jacksonville's looking at right here at number 3?
You know what? I love their wide receivers right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if they took Amari Cooper just because he is that good. He's one of the most sure things in this entire draft class. But they have Allen Robinson. They've got quite a few players that to build around Blake Bortles. They picked up Jared Odrick from the Dolphins, so I don't know if Leonard Williams is exactly who they're looking at right now, but I wouldn't be surprised with Leonard Williams, but I would not be surprised with Amari Cooper right here either. I don't think it's going to be Kevin White. I don't think he fits exactly what they're looking for in the wide receiver position. So I'd be very shocked if Kevin White went here in front of Amari Cooper. I'm going to go ahead and say number 3.
Well, the pick is in now, so let's see what they do.
Thanks very much, Marcus Mariota, the highest drafted quarterback from Oregon since the man who was drafted.
I'm wondering if it's going to be a pass rusher, considering the fact that the. Oh, hang on. There's a notification going across the screen. Philip Wheeler has just signed with the 49ers.
Yeah, I announced it already, Lewis. That was obviously the story of the day.
Oh, I'm tired, guys. Catch up.
Well, Jacksonville did not waste any time making their pick, so they actually obviously had a conviction and weren't looking at doing a trade.
Jump on video chat.
Well, whoever they wanted, they got him quick. It was like apparently obviously they weren't going after Winston and they weren't going after Mariota. So I guess it wasn't really a matter of who were they going to take. It's a matter of who was available, who did they want, and they got him right away. There was no hesitation on their part. They didn't want a quarterback. The guy who was there automatically.
Yeah, absolutely. So usually within these first 10 picks, there's always a shocker. So I'm curious to see if that comes into play. Maybe a cornerback will come out of nowhere and get drafted high, and typically I count on the Raiders to do something off the wall. So they'll be coming up next. So this is going to be very interesting.
So crazy. Always a good bet.
So who did Jeff say it was that he thought the pick was going to be? I didn't actually get to hear. It's very loud over here. Okay, and I'm sure you guys have been able to tell now. Chad, are you there? By myself?
Yeah, you're here. There's a lot of interference coming from the background on you, Lewis, so it's hard to hear.
Yeah, sorry, guys. It's really loud. So I'm trying to find a place to talk. In a minute, I'm going to go and sit in on it with my time was unchanged, so I'm unavailable in just a minute.
Okay.
I said no, the guy's 30. Something everybody's standing around waiting to see who the guest is for the draft. I think this is going to be spending a lot more groaning than before.
Varying degrees of success, obviously. For players to go from the Heisman Trophy winning podium to the National Football League.
Okay, I'm going to mute my mic until I actually have something to say, guys. I'm sorry for the background noise, but loud.
Okay, thank you, Louis. Sorry, that was it's really hard to understand you. I know you're live there on the scene still. I'm trying to see here who the pick is. I know the pick is in, but I haven't actually formally seen them announce it yet for the Jackson Jaguars pick. So we're keeping a close eye on it right now. We'll keep you informed as soon as we know. Again, the first two picks of the draft, as pretty much was expected, was Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston. There was no trade. I don't think you're going to see a Phillip Rivers trade. There was some talk for the last couple weeks that the Chargers were shopping Phillip Rivers in an attempt to make a move up to get one of those guys, but it didn't materialize. And now that they're off the board, unless it's a post-pick trade, I don't think it's going to materialize.
Dante Fowler for Jacksonville. That's a big shock, actually.
Yeah, that is a bit of a surprise. He was mocking a few picks down. I mean, not that he's not a solid, edge rusher.
He's great. I'm very surprised for Jacksonville there. They could have went a bunch of different directions, and I think maybe that'll pay off for him now. Fowler is such a great player. He's a stud, and he's staying in his home state. So I think that'll pay off for them. They're building that defense up completely, and I like what they're doing there in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I was talking when we played Jacksonville last year that, I know that they've been the doormat for a few years in the AFC South, but that defense was already solid coming into this offseason. And so adding Fowler into that mix there, that defense is going to be formidable. I honestly expect Jacksonville's defense to be maybe a top 10 or even better defense this year. And so adding a pass rusher of that caliber, I don't think we play them again this year, so I'm kind of glad if that's the case. I don't know if I want to play Jacksonville.
It sounds a little weird that we don't want to play Jacksonville, but yeah, I'm completely with you. They're definitely an up-and-coming team, and if they can get that offense going, that defense is they're a scary group right there. They've got Dante Fowler now. Paul Posluszny's going to come back from injury. I'm sure he's going to be exactly what he was before. So yeah, I'm glad we don't play the Jags this year.
Yeah, and with Bortles coming now after a season under his belt, Denard Robinson definitely was explosive when they were getting the ball in his hands. So I don't think Jacksonville's going to be a doormat team coming into this year. I think they're going to be more of a mid-range team. So I don't think they're a matchup teams are looking for so much anymore that they want to play. So I'm a little bit surprised. I kind of thought they were going to go with Cooper, to be honest, because they want to get a playmaker on their team to get some more points on the board. But hard to go wrong with building up your defense in the NFL. You really need a good defense to be competitive, and so Luck is going to have his hands full, I think, when they play Jacksonville this year.
Yeah, and Gus Bradley is he's a class act coach. He's a very great coach. He's a team. He's a players coach. He's in with the crowd, and he's very aggressive with his players, and they'll play for him. They'll play their hearts out for him. So, big thanks for Jacksonville this year, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll see how that plays out. Now we've got the historical wild card team on the board right now. The Raiders, they'll come out of nowhere a lot of times on their picks, and so it's going to be very interesting. The Raiders are a team just full of holes right now, so I mean, there's a lot of directions they can go, but they're a team that it wouldn't shock me if they took Gurley. They're just that kind of team where they'll come out of nowhere and make a pick. So I have to think they're looking at those wide receivers right now. They need some wide receiver talent to put with their young quarterback, and obviously they got their pick on the board right now, Cooper or White, whichever one they want to go after. It's going to be interesting. You have a prediction, Jeff? You think they're going to go skill position, or you think they're going to go play it safe and maybe go after Williams, the defensive tackle from USC?
I think that Jacksonville kind of threw a wrench in their plans there, but I think it's for the best for the Raiders. I think Leonard Williams should be the pick here. I mean, he's really is too good to pass up. The Raiders could, of course, go for Amari Cooper. They could go for Kevin White to pair with their young quarterback Derek Carr, but they're already good. They got James Jones. They got Andre Holmes, who's a big favorite of mine. They just picked up Michael Crabtree. I think right now, if Leonard Williams at number 4, just win, baby. I think Al Davis would be happy with Leonard Williams.
Yeah, I in some of the, especially leading up to the draft from a few weeks ago, a lot of people were ranking Leonard Williams as the number 1 talent in the draft. If you were, taking out the variable of how hard it is to get a franchise quarterback. So I'm really surprised that he's still on the board. And to me, he's almost as close as he gets to having a sure solid starter at the very least, probably a Pro Bowl caliber D tackle, and those are not easy to get your hands on for guys that can stop the run and rush the passer. I know we were able to do it in the off season, but that cost us over $100 million to get one. So when those guys are on the board, I mean, you got to take them. So I'll be surprised if the Raiders don't take Leonard Williams here, but again, you just never know with these guys. They could come out of nowhere and draft a guy that you wouldn't even have ranked in the top 10. I remember, this is way back, but I remember when they took Todd Marinovich, and that was stunning that they took where they did when they took him. So, granted, Al Davis is no longer, calling the shots, but I really don't know. Now, if the Raiders don't go Amari Cooper or Kevin White, what do you feel like? Do you think we're getting closer to getting the Devontae Parker range, or you still think it's too early to start guessing?
I think this is so far so good as far as the Devontae Parker race goes for the Dolphins, but it's still early to tell. And if I'm the Raiders here, I might even entertain a trade down, see if you can trade back a little bit, because then maybe you can get your wide receiver that you want in Kevin White or Amari Cooper a little bit later if somebody wants to come up and trade for Leonard Williams. I don't think he's not necessarily a need for the Raiders specifically. I mean, they could use pretty much anybody. But if you're the Raiders at this point, I would be glad to trade back.
Yeah, I would too. It doesn't looks like he's coming up, so it would appear the Raiders are going to go ahead and draft. So
Amari Cooper is the pick.
Oh, it is Amari Cooper.
Huh.
Shoot, that's not good for the Dolphins. So
that's not good. That's not good.
I'm stunned that Leonard Williams is still on the board. So he's becoming an obvious pick at this point. So, well, it's to be expected. I'm not surprised either. The Raiders, they need to be able to score some more points in that division. I mean, when you've got a division that features Peyton Manning and the Broncos and Andy Reid and the Chiefs, you've got to be able to put points on the board, or you can just get blown out of ball games. So they are adding, obviously, an elite receiver in this draft. I really thought they would have went White if they were going to go wide receiver. I know Cooper's been a little bit higher on the boards, but the Raiders have always seemed to like those real big, fast, vertical guys. And not that Cooper's slow, but I thought White was a little bit more explosive for the vertical game. So we'll see. Well, you got to say they've given their quarterback some help getting Amari Cooper right here. So next up is going to be the Redskins. This is another team just full of holes, so it's really difficult to see what the Redskins are going to do. All intents and purposes, it looks like they're going to be sticking with RG3 and Kirk Cousins as their quarterbacks right now. So they've had a lot of people wondering what they were going to do with RG3. Is RG3 still their long-term solution at quarterback? And I think the Redskins have to get that figured out. So I know Leonard Williams has to be attractive sitting on the board, but they really need to get RG3 some help because they've got to figure out what direction they're going. What do you think? Where do you think the Redskins are going, Jeff?
Well, again, I mean, Leonard Williams right now is weighing on everybody's mind. I mean, he's tough to pass up in these early picks. If you're the Redskins, I mean, you can go so many different ways. Dante Fowler would have been great for them. That's where I was expecting Fowler to end up. It's a little bit too early, I think, for Vic Beasley for the Redskins. Kevin White, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you'll start seeing the offensive linemen come off the board. But I don't know. Trade back as much as you can. I think this pick will go down to the wire with the Redskins making some phone calls. But Leonard, I want to keep saying Leonard Williams. We'll see.
Well, and now we've got our hated division rival, the Jets, sitting there, and I believe full-heartedly the Jets were trying to work out a deal with the Titans to move up to get Mariota. Just because I can't imagine the Jets feel comfortable going into next year with Geno Smith as their quarterback right now, or that they'll have to go with one of those middle of the road to bottom half the league veterans. So that's really going to make it hard for the Jets to try to get things turned around. I have to imagine the Jets want White pretty bad. They don't. I mean, they have a decent defensive line intact right now. So what do you if the Redskins take a White? I mean, do you think that's who the Jets are targeting right now, or what's your thought?
Jets could go a lot of ways. I think they definitely want White. For some reason, I don't think the Redskins really need White. I don't think he really fits what they're going for. They still need a quarterback, realistically. I think they're going to try to work defense here. The Jets, unfortunately, will probably end up with Kevin White. For us Dolphins fans, that kind of, that's not the best thing we want to hear tonight. But I think the Redskins, they need to go defense. They need to add something to take away from the quarterback here. So I think Leonard Williams is the pick. I don't see them going any other way here. I don't think Kevin White's a good fit for him, in my opinion. We'll see though.
Yeah, I agree with you. The Redskins, they have some skilled player talent. I know he's older, but Santana Moss is still there. I want to say they still have Pierre Garcon. Wasn't he on their team last year? Or am I losing my mind? I was thinking he was. So he's a serviceable wide receiver. So are you there, Lewis? Oh, I thought Lewis was talking. Your phone's not getting very good reception, Lewis, so it's hard to get you right now for the live updates. Looks like the Redskins' pick is in, so it doesn't look like a trade has occurred. I agree with you, Jeff. I think they were trying like crazy to trade it because the Redskins have multiple needs. So I can't imagine they wanted to take a player here, but I'd be stunned if it's not Leonard Williams with the talent. I mean, he would immediately give them a dominant presence in the middle.
Whoa, Brandon Sharp. Offensive.
I am shocked.
Well, here we go. So this is what the draft is all about, huh?
Yeah, I always said there's going to be somebody that does something surprising. And not that Brandon Sharp's not a solid player, and with Lale Collins being kind of falling off the draft board now, his value went up that much more because they needed so if you were looking for a tackle, but he's just one of those guys that doesn't transition well to tackle them.
The stadium is actually it's pretty mild, actually. Nobody's a whole lot of heartbroken about the fact that Scherf is off the board. However, when Amari Cooper went off the board to the Raiders, there was a lot of moaning and groaning like I expected there to be. They were upset, they were disappointed, and needless to say, I think they're bracing themselves for when Kevin White goes off the board as well.
I think Kevin White's going off the board soon in the next two picks, I would assume.
I think the Jets are sprinting to the board right now to get White in there. They desperately need people that can score points. And I see Kirk Clarence there on TV. That's pretty cool.
I'm surprised with Todd Gurley right here. You think that'll happen?
God, I don't think the Bears are going to go Gurley. I mean, you never know, but they still have Matt Forte. I just don't see the direction the Bears are going to go.
I'm talking about the Jets. You think the Jets will do it?
Oh, the Jets? I don't think they. I mean, they have a need for running back, but they have so much going on right now. The Jets, I don't think they can afford to be too risky because they need a player they can start right away from the first-round pick. So I'd be pretty shocked if they did it. I think White almost has to be the pick. They need a guy they can plug in right away to try to put some points on the board. But I don't know, with Sheldon Richardson and their defensive line, I don't see Leonard Williams being a real much of a need pick for him. But if they do take him, their interior is going to be a nightmare this year.
Yeah, exactly. I'm shocked that Leonard Williams is on the board. This is it.
Okay, now that Lewis can hear again, so Lewis is blowing my ears out. All right, well, so anyway, I am, just a second here.
Sorry, guys. I think updates aren't exactly easy to get. Every time I start talking, apparently you guys appear. So.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, as I was saying, I am from Iowa, and I go to pretty much all the Iowa Hawkeye games, so I'm real familiar with Brandon. He's a solid lineman. I've seen a lot of good linemen come through Miami. Beloga. I've seen Robert Gallery, and I'm surprised that he's going this high in the draft. He's more of he's a lineman you can plug in right away, but I just don't know that he's that high end of a talent to go that high, and I'm not sure if he can transition to tackle or if he'll play guard yet as well. So I think probably what the Redskins are doing is just trying to take the safest lineman they could, to bolster their linebacking core. So I am pretty surprised. It puts the Jets into an interesting situation right now. I was mentioning earlier that if they do take Leonard Williams and they are pairing him with Sheldon Richardson, that the defensive interior for the Jets will be, it'll be tough. And then mixing that in with the interior and the defensive line for Buffalo, Miami's offensive line is definitely going to have some challenges to go up with them. So, but I don't know. I mean, I know he's probably by far and away the best rated player on the board still, but the Jets, they desperately need to be able to score points. I mean, right now they really don't have a true number one wide receiver. Geno Smith's their quarterback, so I mean they've got to figure out a way to be able to put some points on the board if they're going to have any hope of competing with a team like the Patriots. So, I don't know if they're going to be just looking at this year as a rebuilding project, knowing that they don't have their quarterback of the future, or if they'll pull the trigger here. So we're going to see. You have any predictions right now, Jeff?
I just want you guys to know. You just showed the Jets draft party, and the whole crowd just erupted in horrible boos, and Jets, you suck a chance all over the place.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, you can't blame these guys. You can't say these guys aren't passionate. If these guys want it, they're going to boo every chance they get. I'm sure that if Kevin White ends up going here, there's going to be a lot more boos going all over the place.
Yeah, so they're just ready to put their pick in. Boy, they took the whole time, so I have to imagine the Jets were probably trying to trade out because they're one of these teams that definitely could use more picks right now to try to fill more holes. I know
Leonard Williams is a hot commodity, so I'm sure that a team like maybe Detroit could want to, I'd be on the phones with Detroit all day long after trading, after getting rid of Ndamukong Suh and Nick Fairley. If Leonard Williams is still there, Detroit needs that, someone to pair up with. I think they got Cannata, didn't they? But they would love to add another tackle.
Yeah, Detroit did. They picked him up, but they dropped off substantially from what they had last year with Suh gone, and picking Nadi up is going to help. But he's an older guy. I question whether he can stay healthy the entire year, and he had a drug suspension. So I would agree they probably want him, but it looks like they didn't get any deals done. So the Jets are going to be bringing their pick in. So Todd Bowles is a defensive guy, so it'll be interesting if this will be the first pick of his tenure with the Jets. So none of the coaches want to be attached to coming in right away and having a bust. So Leonard Williams would be a very safe pick for them. Not that Kevin White isn't talented, but with Geno Smith throwing to him, is he really going to help the Jets that much in his rookie season? It's going to be interesting to see what they take. So if White slips by the Jets here, that really would be good for the Dolphins in the sense if they're really angling towards Devontae Parker. Having White slide down one more would be a good thing. So, I mean, obviously the Redskins were surprising, but it hasn't really thrown off the way the first 14 picks are coming off the board. So what I'm really looking for is somebody to come in that somebody was projecting, further down the first round for a team to reach. So we haven't really seen that yet, but once we get past pick 10 or so, there's a good chance we'll see that.
I'm really surprised that there haven't been any trades so far, especially with Leonard Williams dropping the way he has so far. I really thought this would have been a more action-packed draft so far, but it seems like the teams are kind of they're taking the safe routes so far. We'll see if the Jets will change that mold here.
Yeah, I really thought there was going to be a trade from the Titans at number 2. I just thought there's going to be a team like what the Redskins did with RG3 maybe. Here comes the pick.
Pick is Leonard Williams, and nobody around here is at all. Supposed to be a lot more Williams, all those guys. The New York Jets just became a very, very, very dangerous defensive team.
Yeah, the Jets. I'm not shocked. I mean, he's the best player available on the board, and while they're teaming him with Sheldon Richardson, they're going to be a very tough defensive line. And bringing back Darrelle Revis in the secondary, they've got some good D-backs, and so they should be an elite defense with Todd Bowles as their coach. So, but the only problem they have right now is
secondary too. Ooh, that secondary is good too.
Oh yeah, so they're going to be a tough defense, but it looks like they might have to win games by 7-0, 14-0 type games to get wins because right now they're lacking on the offensive side of the football. So I'm sure they're going to try to address that as the draft goes on. But the Jets, I don't mind it. Obviously I don't like the fact that they've stacked their defense a little bit, but Rex Ryan was a defensive coach, and he always had them playing at a high level of defense anyway. So I would rather see them stay on the defensive side of the ball for now if their offense isn't going to be able to score a lot of points. So I have a feeling they're going to struggle still offensively this season. So we'll see. It's a tough division. The AFC East is definitely a competitive division. Buffalo, made all the moves in the offseason to bolster their team. The Jets are, they're trying to do the same thing, but right now the big theme is, once you're past Tom Brady and the Patriots, who's the next best quarterback in the AFC East, and it still looks to me as Tannehill head and shoulders the number 2 quarterback in the division. So it's going to be an interesting season to see if the Jets and Patriots can be competitive without a star name at the quarterback position.
Do you see the Bills or Jets taking a quarterback late in this draft at all, or?
I think they have to. I think the Jets. I just like I said, I can't believe they're planning on Smith as their plan right now. He just his consistently has been horrific. He has trouble reading defenses, and I just don't believe the Jets can be a competitive team right now without a quarterback. As good as their defense is on paper right now, they've got to have some sort of plan right now to angle for a quarterback. Unless literally they're just focused on rebuilding more so right now than realistically, trying to compete for a playoff run or a Super Bowl run. Maybe they're just trying to build their team up, and they're going to try to chase that quarterback next year if the opportunity presents itself. But I don't know. I just it's hard to win in this league without consistent quarterback play, and so I don't know. I just don't see it right now, despite their defense, that they're going to be able to stay in many games if the scoreboard gets up there.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you there.
Jeff, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Chicago Bears didn't even make. Who do you think is already off the board?
Say that again, Lewis.
The Bears didn't hesitate to make their pick. Who do you think it is, considering who's already off the board?
I think it's got to be Kevin White taking over for Brandon Marshall. That's what I would say. I would say it's got to be Alshon Jeffrey paired with Kevin White right here.
Yeah, he makes a lot of sense for the Bears. I agree with you. I can't imagine that they're going to jump over to the defensive side of the ball right now with Marshall gone. They're another one of these teams that are at a crossroads. They've got a huge contract right now into Cutler, and he really fell apart last year. And so the Bears almost have no choice unless they can pull off some miraculous trade where somebody would take on Cutler's salary. But I don't know how much dead money they'd have tied up with him anyway. But they're pretty much locked into having Jay Cutler be their quarterback for another season or two. And I think they need to pair some people with him right now if they're going to be competitive. Aaron Rodgers is, as Lewis would say, Aaron Rodgers is a bad man, and so you've got to be able to score points right now in the NFC North to try to unseat the Packers. So the Bears are probably the team that are closest right now to potentially being able to do that. They have a solid team overall, and they need somebody that can score points. So I'd be surprised if it wasn't White right here. I don't know who else they would pick in terms of a point score anyway, unless they go off the wall and go after Gurley. I'd be shocked, but with Matt Forte, I don't think they're going to do that.
No, another surprise here might be Danny Shelton. If they're really high on Danny Shelton, I think he could be a big contributor for that defense. But that again would be a surprise. I'd have to go with Kevin White right here.
Yeah, what's your feeling on Danny? I haven't really been high on him myself. I know he had a good Senior Bowl, but he just doesn't seem like he's exceptionally talented. I'm sure he'd be a solid starter, but I don't know. I'm probably staying that Miami. I'll end up taking him, so we'll see.
Well,
the pick is Kevin White.
Yeah, no surprise there. That's what we were expecting. So.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I like Danny Shelton. If he drops to 14, I would love him for the Dolphins. I think he's a big man. He'll take up at least two guys at one time. He's athletic for a big guy, and he can fill the holes, and he checks off all the boxes that the Dolphins really need for an opposite defensive tackle, opposite of Ndamukong Suh. I wouldn't be mad with Danny Shelton. I like him as a player. He needs to improve his technique a little bit. He doesn't have the best hands or footwork for a defensive tackle, but for his size, he's so athletic, and he can take up the space definitely. Yeah,
I mean, I'd be surprised. I mean, I understand the theory. You're trying to pair another really good D tackle with Sue, but they've got Earl Mitchell on the books this year. Not that Earl Mitchell is by any means a dominant defensive tackle, but I just don't know if they'd help there. To me, it's all about how many points can you score or limit in a game, and how many more wins can you provide. And I just don't see him changing their outlook that much for a first-round pick anyway.
He'd be a surprise pick. I mean, I'd like the pick for sure, but I mean, you have Earl Mitchell, you have A.J. Francis, you have Anthony Johnson, you have DeAndre Coleman, who's another big, he's on the practice squad this year, but I'm a fan of DeAndre Coleman. I think the Dolphins are pretty much set at defensive line for real, and drafting Danny Shelton will just be, it'd be the icing on the cake. It's definitely not necessary, so I really doubt they go that way.
Yeah, I agree. So, and now, so we're headed over to the Atlanta Falcons now on the board, and I think we're pretty safe that I don't think the Falcons are going to take a wide receiver. They're probably one of the first teams now enter the mix that would consider Gurley, I think, but I don't expect them to take him. The Falcons have a lot of quick backs, I guess I would call them. They don't have a serious power runner now that Steven Jackson, he's past his pinnacle, and I don't even know that he's on the team anymore right now. So I don't know that they would go after Gurley, but the Falcons' defense has been pretty horrendous, and I got to imagine they're looking on the defensive side of the ball. You might see one of the corners come off the board here, maybe Peters. Wouldn't surprise me either to see them go Vic Beasley or even Danny Shelton. What do you think? You have a prediction here?
Well, let's see. I mean, Todd Gurley, University of Georgia, end up in Atlanta. I could see Todd Gurley being there most definitely. They need a lot here. I think Marcus Peters could be a good pick. I think a lot of people will be surprised, but Trey Waynes could be a pick for Atlanta. I think he's a better fit schematically for the Falcons and their defense. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of Trey Waynes, I think he fits their defense just fine. Opposite of Desmond Trufant over there, can make a 1-2 combo. Vic Beasley is another name that could definitely come off the board here. Shane Ray, I know he tested positive for marijuana this past week, but Shane Ray is such a he's a dynamic player. He's a big time player. I really love him. I'd be surprised if he came off the board here, but I think Shane Ray is going to be very good in this league. And if the Falcons want to make a splash, I think Shane Ray could be a great pick here. I would have to go. Let's see. I'm not sure. Vic Beasley makes a lot of sense, I think, here.
Yeah, that's my prediction too. Is they're going to go Vic Beasley. I really think the Falcons need to go defense. I know the fan base, he'd sell a lot of jerseys to pick Gurley, but they've got some pretty good young talent at the running back position. I don't think they have a power back per se, but kind of along the same philosophy I was talking about the Dolphins. If you add Todd Gurley to the Falcons right now, how much does that change for the football team? Obviously, he would make their offense even more dynamic, but clearly the Falcons' problems on their side of football, and they need to address their defense in a bad way. So Beasley's probably one of the better players available still that could help them rush the passer and do a lot of other things on defense. I agree with you on Shane Ray, but with his positive test here, I think it's to become Deion Jordan, case in point. It's becoming so critical these days to make sure when you invest in a pick that high, especially when you're in the top 10 picks in the draft, you can't afford to have somebody that's going to be failing drug tests in the league right now. And I'm not saying that Shane Ray has a drug problem, but you really got to wonder, when you're coming into one of the biggest situations of your life, when millions of dollars are on the line in your career, to do something that stupid, you wonder what they'll be doing once they're on your team. So it'll be very interesting to see how that impacts him. It's, again, what he did was actually pretty minor. It's, he got possession of marijuana, so it's not like, he hit a woman or, he did something that would be a felony type. He's not like a flat out criminal. So
things, yeah, very minor.
You got to keep in mind these guys are, early guys in their early 20s, and if I was going to be judged what I did in my early 20s, I would probably be in the same boat. But with that being said,
for sure,
it does make it hard to pick Shane Ray over Vic Beasley right now with that difference between them. So it's going to be interesting to see. I really, again, I don't think the Falcons are going to go wide receiver here at all. I'd be stunned if they took Parker with having Julio Jones and Roddy White already on their team and how much needs they have on defense. So, again, this is a team that...
Yeah, this is another pick that I think that they're going down to the wire, and they're definitely working their phones to see what they can get out of, another team that might want a Devontae Parker. Would you be surprised if the Dolphins are trading up here? Would that be something that you think that you would trade up this far?
I don't see it. The reason I know that Tannenbaum has a reputation for being kind of a wild, guy when it comes to trading, but the reality is for the Dolphins right now is, they've got a huge contract in place for Ndamukong Suh. They're going to at some point have to work out a large contract with Ryan Tannehill. And so when you're coming into these next 2 to 3 years, salary cap's something the Dolphins have to manage very well. And the best way to do that is young guys get draft picks. And so I just don't think you got to understand that football is a dangerous sport and people are going to get hurt. And so you have no idea when you get into 2016 what holes Miami is going to have to fill. What if Brent Grimes has a career-ending injury, or something like that happens, and then you have all that money and Ndamukong Suh, it's going to limit their ability to go get free agents. So it's important they keep their draft picks. So for that reason, I think they're much more likely to trade down than up.
Well, Beasley it is, and nobody here seems to notice that either. They're not stunned.
That's what we all thought. That was a good pick. Good pick for the Falcons.
Yeah, definitely. Good pick for sure. And our draft guru, Jeff Hyde, continues to put Mel Kiper to shame, just nailing these one after another. No, this was a good fit. I mean, Vic Beasley was one of the, ranked right where he would be relative to other players, and it was a need pick for the Falcons. So it's almost a no-brainer at this point. They need to be able to get pressure on the quarterback to get back to being competitive.
He's going to be so good in that defense. I really believe Vic Beasley is one of the best in this draft class. He'll be solid for a long time. I mean, they're showing highlights on ESPN right now that I'm watching. He's just, you can flick on any game tape of Vic Beasley, and he's the same way every single play. He's not going to stop. He's a high motor. He stays low every single time. He's got great hip bend, and he's going to finish too. So,
yeah, absolutely,
he's one of the best players in this draft for sure.
Yeah, and I mean he's got all the intangibles. I've said this on prior podcasts that if I were a GM and evaluating players, the very first thing I look for, which I call the inclusion criteria, are players that perform very well against high-level competition. And Beasley's one of those. The combine's important, and the Senior Bowl is important, and stuff like that. I consider that more exclusion. I want to make sure you can run at least this fast, or you can bench press at least this many reps. But I really don't care if you have the fastest 40 time. If you're a wide receiver and you can run a 4.25, that's impressive. Maybe you should consider the Olympics. But as long as you can run faster than a 4.4 or you're in that range, I want to see how you do when you're playing against Alabama, against Florida, when you're in the bowl games. And because I think that's what translates over to the NFL better than anything is how they play on the field against high-level competition. And a guy like Beasley, he had 33 sacks in college. I mean, this is a guy that knows how to get after the quarterback. So
he's going to put in that work for sure.
Yeah, so he'll be a good fit there for the Falcons. And I was just talking about how difficult it is to compete in the AFC East when you've got a team like the Patriots in there and some really hard-nosed teams like the Jets and the Buffalo Bills, where they have tremendous defensive lines, and they traditionally have had power running games, and you have to have a sound defensive line to compete in that division. I wish I was in the NFC South right now when you can be 8-8 win the division. So for a team like the Falcons, it wouldn't be hard at all. You get one or two big players, and you're suddenly the leader in that division. So it's a good pick for the Falcons. They're going to be getting their offense back on track anyway with Julio Jones back. I personally believe Matt Ryan's he's a solid quarterback for them that's just been getting better every year. So they would be a team right now I would look to get right back to being one of the top competitors in the NFC South. And Beasley being able to rush the passer fills one of the biggest weaknesses. So great pick.
Yeah, definitely a great pick.
And next up, we got the Giants right now. I don't see the Giants again being in the running for Parker, or I really don't see Tom Coughlin going after Gurley. That just isn't his style.
They need offensive line help for sure. I wouldn't be surprised. Eric Flowers would be a good pick right here for the Giants.
Yeah, he's a tough guy to mock because he's traditionally been mocking lower, but God, he's a beast of a tackle. So I mean, you need
they need something to bolster that offensive line. A lot of people were mocking Todd Gurley to the Giants, but I don't think Todd Gurley would do anything with the offensive line that they have right now. So, Collins would have been a great pick here, but I think he's not coming off the board here. I think the Giants would probably have to settle here for an Eric Flowers. TJ T.J. Clemens, or if they want to go defensive tackle, they can go Danny Shelton too. Right here, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, those would be the two most likely players I would expect to. Tom Coughlin traditionally is a veteran guy in the backfield. I want to say I think they signed Vereen from the Patriots this year anyway in the offseason, and he's typically I want a veteran back platooning. He very low patience for rookies out of the running back, and so I would be shocked if they went with Gurley here. And it seems like Tom Coughlin to me to go with the offensive or defensive lineman.
Flowers it is, guys. And believe it or not, people here are actually cheering for the fact that Flowers is the pick, because it means that I guess it means that Devontae Parker survives to play another day.
Yeah, I thought it was very unlikely Parker was going to go to the Giants anyway. But hey, I gotta say again, you guys better be enjoying Jeff Hyde where you can hear him here on the PhinManiacs. I think he's going to be working for ESPN next year because he's just nailing these things. So, yeah, I was surprised Flowers wasn't talking about more. If Miami would have been needing a tackle, I would have really been biting my fingernails for him because the guy's huge and he's one of those guys that's athletic enough to pass block effectively. I think he's probably going to need some work, but I'm sure the Giants will get him up to speed in a hurry on his pass blocking. But he's a powerful, powerful guy in the run game with its athletics. So it wouldn't shock me at all that Eric Flowers becomes a perennial Pro Bowler in this league with his talent.
I would say first year. I'm big on Eric Flowers. I think he's just a moving wall. Everywhere he goes, he takes pieces with him. So, I mean, he's gonna roll over anything in sight. He's big. That's a big pickup for the Giants right there. That's exactly what they need.
Yeah, I agree with you. He wasn't talked about that much, but it's uncommon to see guys that big and strong that are that nimble on their feet. And I think you'd have to watch some film on Eric Flowers to appreciate it, but he isn't one of these 330-pound walls that just you can run around him. He can get around. He can pull. He can move. So I think the Giants picked up an exceptional athlete there. Again, if tackle would have been in need for Miami, I'd have been seriously considering trading up for Flowers. He would have been my number one true tackle, in the draft. So, fortunately for Miami, they're what they do need on offensive line are interior guys, and with Sheriff off the board and with Collins now with all the uncertainty where the guards are at, I really don't see Miami going offensive line at this point. There's some solid, true positional guards I think that could be had in the second or maybe even in the fourth round at this point. So even though it's probably their number one need, I just don't see Miami going interior lineman at this point. But next up right now we have the Rams. Rams obviously got involved in the craziness that is Chip Kelly, so they shipped off Bradford and brought in Nick Foles. I'm not a huge Nick Foles advocate. I know your boy Omar Kelly was big on Nick Foles. Well, he was running what basically is the Dolphins offense. If you ever watch the Eagles play, they run a lot of the same read option that Bill Lazor brought over, that they run in Miami. So we'll see. It's interesting they picked a guy that's had serious knee problems in Bradford to go over and be the starter for the Jets and sent Foles over. But the Rams are a team that I think people are, I was talking about Jacksonville. The Rams are another team that have a stacked defense. I don't know if people realize how good the talent level is on the Rams defense. So
they're deep too. They're very, very deep all the way around.
Yeah, that's the only one of the divisions I'd rather be in the AFC East. Is I don't want to get over in the NFC West right now. I mean, it's a dogfight in that division right now. So I have to think the Rams are wanting an offensive playmaker. So you've got to be concerned that they may look at Devontae Parker. They may look at Gurley as well. I think the Rams defense is so stacked they're going to be looking for somebody to put points on the board right here to put with Nick Foles. So I would say that this is a high risk pick to see one of those two guys go, either Gurley or Parker. What do you think, Jeff?
I definitely think Devontae Parker is in play. They could go offensive line though with Jake Long being gone. I think T.J. Clemens is kind of a dark horse to go right here. It would definitely be a reach for them. Devontae Parker, T.J. Clemmings, but I would say, Bud Dupree from Kentucky, linebacker. I know it doesn't seem like something that they necessarily need, and I know you're talking they have a good defense, but Bud Dupree is a special talent, in my opinion. He can do it all. I mean, especially behind that defensive line. He's a linebacker. He's going to get after everybody. He's going to make a ton of tackles behind that line. If they really want to solidify that defense, Bud Dupree right here would be a kind of a surprise pick, but nothing off the wall. I think Jeff Fisher could pull the trigger on Bud Dupree.
Yeah, if you're going best player available, Jeff Fisher loves defensive guys. It wouldn't shock me. One thing to keep in mind that's interesting with the Rams is there's so much unrest with what's going to happen with them. A lot of people have them pegged in them going back to Los Angeles. And so if that is in play, it wouldn't shock me that, what the Rams don't have right now is a lot of appeal from a fan base standpoint. Whose jerseys are they going to sell? Do you really think people are rushing out to buy a bunch of Nick Foles jerseys right now? So I have a feeling here that you may see them, roll the dice a little bit and take Gurley because he's a very marketable commodity. And if they are going to go into Los Angeles in the next year or two, and that's something that they're aware of on the internal side, or even if they're going to stay in St. Louis, it wouldn't shock me here that they're really wanting to bring somebody in that's marketable. And I don't think there's a more marketable player in the draft right now than Todd Gurley. So it'll be.
I think they have that already in Trey Mason. Just give Trey Mason another year. I'm a big believer in Trey Mason behind the line. I mean, he had a very productive rookie year. I don't think they would pair Gurley behind Trey Mason at all to to take away from Mason's abilities. I think Parker would be a better fit here for them if they want to go playmaker and they want to sell jerseys. But
sure.
I mean, Parker would be a great fit here. I'm scared of this completely, but I'm just praying and hoping that the pick is Bud Dupree here.
Yeah, I'm with you. So no, I that would probably be my next.
Sure.
After Gurley, I would probably go Parker as the most likely pick for them right here. So, what do you think, Lewis?
I don't know, man. I'm just waiting for the reaction. If it's Parker, there's going to be an explosion here, I'm sure. But so far, it seems that anybody who's not Parker, nobody's fazed by it. They picked Gurley, and seriously mixed reactions here. There's a lot of people who are mad. There's a lot of people who are they're happy that the running back is off the board finally. I guess Pablo and Oscar can finally chill out because they're the running back they said was hurt and all that stuff. The top 10, he went in the top 10. So there you go. If he becomes Marshawn Lynch or Adrian Peterson for the St. Louis Rams, I expect the Rams to do some serious things.
Yeah, I'm sorry I had to jump over you on that pick, Jeff. I had a feeling that's what was coming for the marketability.
I'm shocked. I love Trey Mason. I'm just surprised they paired him with Todd Gurley.
No, your logic was very sound, and if you were picking the player to absolutely be the best improvement for your team, you're absolutely right. But I had a feeling the Rams, with all the dilemma going on about them moving in Los Angeles, they wanted to do something flashy, and that's flashy, just taking Todd Gurley. But
I love the pick. I love the pick for them.
Yeah, at the very least, if he does become an Adrian Peterson, Marshawn Lynch level player in the NFL, at least he's over in the NFC and he's not on the Jets or for God forbid, end up on the Patriots or something like that. So when they take
exactly, I'm so glad get him out of the way.
Yeah, I was too. I mean, I had that bittersweet feeling where it'd be fun to have him on the Dolphins, but it's just Lamar Miller really had an improvement last year, and I just don't know if we could afford to neglect, some of our need picks. That Gurley on that would have been pretty enticing. But with Devontae Parker now getting past the Rams, that's a great thing for us. The Vikings obviously just picked up one of the greatest
Dolphins of all time. Now the real danger here, Chad. Minnesota's looking for wide receivers.
Yeah, I understand Minnesota's looking for wide receiver, but I mean they got Mike Wallace over there right now, so I mean that's
Ooh, what a stud! What a stud receiver he is.
yeah, So I mean,
Hopefully, I'll jump for joy right here and now, and I'll scream like a fan here if the pick winds up being Trey Waynes from Minnesota.
Yeah. Oh, me too. Me too, for sure.
yeah, I think the Vikings need defense right now more than they need. Teddy Bridgewater looked pretty. Yeah, he was coming into his own last year. They still have Adrian Peterson. That's up in the air, but I suspect he'll probably be playing for them again this year. And with Mike Wallace there, I don't feel like the Vikings are going to jump at offense again. I think Dupree would still be in play. They could always use a player of that caliber on their defense, and it wouldn't shock me. This may be the pick we see a corner. So if I had to pick here, I would probably go with. I don't know if they'll go Trey Waynes in that division with Aaron Rodgers. I think it might be Marcus Peters if they're going to pick a corner, or Bud Dupree. That'd be my picks. How about you, Jeff?
I think this has got to be Marcus Peters here. They need cornerback help for sure. I'm praying once again, that it's not Devontae Parker, because I really, really would love Devontae Parker for the Miami Dolphins. But Devontae Parker makes sense. Marcus Peters makes a lot of sense as well. So we'll see right here. I think I don't think linebacker is the choice here. I don't think Bud Dupree fits because they drafted Anthony Barr last year, who showed a lot of promise out of UCLA.
I agree. I was just thinking best player available if they decide to go.
Best player available, I think right now, is Bud Dupree. Bud Dupree's great, but yeah, Anthony Barr did a great job for the Vikings last year, so I don't think they'll go that direction. But hey, who knows? I mean, this draft's been full of surprises so far, so we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. So it's I don't know. I'm sticking with. I just don't think they're going to go offense here. So I'm going to stick with your idea of Peters. I think that's the pick, even though he's had some off-the-field issues that make him a little bit risky. The Vikings desperately need some guys that can slow down the Packers if they want to compete in that division. And, not that Trey Waynes isn't a talented player, but he's clearly a big press cover type corner, and that's not the ideal corners to try to stop the Green Bay passing attack, where they like to spread the ball all over the place. You need more of a guy that can play both zone and man, and I think Peters is probably, from a talent standpoint, the best option they have in this draft to do that. So I'm going to go with Marcus Peters as my prediction anyway for the Vikings.
I'm with you right there. I think Marcus Peters is top 5 overall in this class, in my opinion. I think he's, forget the off the field issues that he has, or the flare-ups with the coaching staff that he had at Washington. I think talent-wise, he is definitely a top 5 player in this draft. If they can figure it out, he's definitely going to be a steal right here for them. Pair him with Harrison Smith, the safety. You pair him with that, the defensive line that's pretty talented in Minnesota, and the up-and-coming linebackers that they have. I think they could have a formidable defense if Peters works out for him, if they take him here.
Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world for those guys. Not that Parker would be a bad pick. I'm sure he'd make him explosive to pair him with Wallace. But, when you have Adrian Peterson and Mike Wallace with Bridgewater, they're going to be able to score points already. And so it doesn't do you any good when Aaron Rodgers is torching you, to add another playmaker on offense there.
Let's not forget that Teddy Bridgewater was throwing passes to Devontae Parker his entire, career.
Yeah, I could see Bridgewater's politicking for him. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Why do you got to remind me of that? Bridgewater and Parker. That just makes me even more worried.
No, we'll see. Here we go.
Well, Lewis, everything's playing out the way you like, because if anybody hasn't followed the PhinManiacs, Lewis, his highest rated player in the entire draft is Trey Waynes, so he's fallen right into Miami.
Trey Waynes.
You can't see it right now. Very excited. I'm very excited for Miami. So happy right now.
Lewis just had his heart broken. Trey Waynes goes off the board.
Yeah,
I really am. Trey Waynes is extremely talented, but with the way the rules have changed in the NFL, the big press corners they struggle more. and so it'll be interesting to see how Trey Waynes does against the Jordy Nelsons and Cobbs of the world over in Green Bay and trying to cover those guys.
If you guys follow me on Twitter at all, you know I'm not the biggest Trey Waynes fan, so I love this right here. I love a wasted pick if I've ever seen one. I hate Trey Waynes. I'm so glad he's off the board. I'm so glad they wasted a pick on him.
I am too. I'm not a Trey Waynes hater. I think he's a talented player. It's my belief that with the Tom Brady's of the world, the way they play their offense, and the Aaron Rodgers and the way the rules have changed with how particular it is with your hands-on wide receivers now. The big press corners, I think, are going to start to go down in value, and you want much faster corners with ball skills that can get turnovers and cover more than physical. So Trey Waynes is definitely an old school press cover corner.
As far as I'm concerned, this is the best thing that could have happened to the Dolphins. I've already made my case very clear for Trey Waynes. I think he's too grabby. I think he's too physical. I think he's a penalty waiting to happen. So the fact that the Vikings took him ahead of anybody else, that makes me feel better. I'm so glad this has happened. And let me just say this much. We're not out of the woods just yet. Cleveland Browns still have to pick, and they also need a wide receiver because, with all due respect to former Miami Dolphin Brian Hartline, he is not going to be anything that's really scary in the NFL. And at this point, Dwayne Bowe is he's not that impressive. So if Devontae Parker winds up going here, I fully expect to get at this point because there are going to be a lot of angry people around here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, in my opinion, the Cleveland Browns are the biggest train wreck in the NFL right now. I mean, their GM got caught, with the whole using a cell phone to try to call plays down to the coach, which I found that just mind-blowing that he was doing it anyway if you're the coach.
How does that?
Yeah, I'm just thinking, wow, could you imagine Dennis Hickey calling Joe Philbin on a cell phone trying to tell him what to run? I mean, it's just blowing my mind. That, with Johnny Football at quarterback and, with the drug problems at wide receiver, I think the Browns are in a position where they want to do something very, very safe. They don't want to go too crazy. So, obviously, best player on the board, Dupree, I think would make a lot of sense for them. They already have a solid defense. They're in a tough physical defense where you got to play the Ravens and the the Ravens and the Steelers.
Yeah.
Those are smash mouth football teams. I just feel like
Danny Shelton's a big pick here too for them.
Yeah, Sheldon or Dupree. I think that's the direction the Browns are going to go. I don't think they're going to do anything too crazy on offense right now because the reality is the Browns simply can't afford to miss on a pick right now.
It's hard to draft a receiver when you don't have a quarterback, So
exactly. Hartline and Bowe, those are not game breakers, but they've got a couple veterans in there right now. I just don't see it. I think the Browns are going to go safe here, and so I feel pretty confident Parker's safe. So I hope I'm right.
Yeah, let's not forget the Browns have number 19 as well, so they can always go Dorial Green Beckham or another wide receiver at 19 if they really want to go that route. But I think you're right. I think safe is the pick here. We'll see though.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you've got Dorsett from Miami. I mean, even guys like Funchess from Michigan. There's so much wide receiver talent later in this draft for a team like the Browns too. I mean, the Browns are in a lot different position personnel-wise than the Dolphins right now. Miami's, they're looking at a number 3 wide receiver to be reality, or even number 4 with Jennings there, and they're looking at guards and linebackers. I mean, these are picks Miami can afford to take right now, but the Browns, they have unrest at quarterback, and they've got unrest in their management, and it's just so much uncertainty. It feels a lot more like maybe where the Dolphins were 2 or 3 years ago. When you want to take picks like Mike Pouncey and Jake Long, where you've got so many holes to fill. Your first round pick has to be somebody that can come in and start and be a solid player. Looks like the pick's in. I don't think they've come up to the podium yet, so we'll have to see where they go. While we're waiting, we've been so much back and forth on all the excitement going on the draft. I was going to throw a few things out there for fun. I don't know how long you follow the Dolphins, Jeff, but I was going to ask you, What's your favorite, biggest Dolphins sleeper draft pick of all time? Who do you think was the best value pick they ever had?
Oh man, sleeper draft pick of all time. Man, I have to think about that. Let's see.
Well, I'll let you think. So, obviously some popular picks are for the newer fans, and in the last, recent memory would be like Zach Thomas. He was a fifth-round pick.
Oh yeah, Zach Thomas, hands down, probably the best sleeper draft pick of all time since I've been a Dolphins fan. Zach Thomas, definitely the best. You can't go wrong with that production for a fifth-round pick.
Yeah, it'd be hard to rule out. I mean, obviously, you can say Marino with where he was picked relative to what he ended up doing in the NFL. A late first-round pick for a stud quarterback is unheard of in today's NFL. But I'd have to go. Brian Cox, I rate up there pretty high. He was more of a mid-round pick. He wasn't.
What was Brian Cox drafted as?
I want to say he was a fourth or fifth-round pick from Northern Illinois. I don't think he was higher than that. And so he had a very good career while he played in Miami, but he wasn't to the level of Zach Thomas. I got to give that one to fifth-round Zach Thomas. So I'll go with that.
Here.
All right, here comes the Browns pick.
Well, it's Shelton. That means the Dolphins shot at Parker. Unbelievable. I didn't think he was going to drop this far.
To me, the big one is you needed somebody that was unexpected to get in there, and Trey Waynes was it for it to happen. And then they thought that Gurley had to go somewhere in the top 14 for Parker to make it. Both those things happen. I don't feel like the Saints are going to be looking wide receiver here. I know they just traded Kenny Stills to Miami, but they don't seem like that team looking for a wide receiver.
I don't know, Chad. I'm still pretty nervous about this because, like I said on the Finsider last night with Keith and Duke, that the Saints are going to be looking for weapons. They just traded, like you said, they traded away Kenny Stills. They recently they took away Jimmy Graham. Like the Saints are just looking around for wide receivers, and there aren't any. So it could still very well be Devontae Parker right here. Until the pick actually becomes our turn, I'm not going to be able to relax because there's still a very good possibility that Parker's gone before we get there.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a possibility, but the Saints right now they're a team that they're kind of at that crossroads of, are you starting to look at maybe doing some rebuilding, or are you still trying to make a run at the Super Bowl with Drew Brees? And so I feel like the Saints have a lot of things they can look at yet, and obviously Dupree would make a lot of sense for the Saints to try to bolster their defense. It wouldn't surprise me if they even go offensive line right now. But, again, when you get into these teams that have some holes to fill, I think more so than Miami, you got to be looking at the depth of the wide receiver position. And the Saints have a pretty high draft status right now, so they're going to have a shot at a very solid wide receiver in the second round yet. And with a guy like Drew Brees and stuff, I think they can probably go get a guy in the second round that could fit well into the Saints system right now. So I don't feel like they're a huge threat unless somebody makes a trade or something like that. But this is where the depth of the wide receiver position it helps us out, because I don't think a lot of teams are going to be looking at in the second round for some of those guys. What do you think, Jeff? You have a prediction on the Saints?
I'm kind of thinking right now we haven't seen a trade yet, and for the Saints, who have lost a lot of players in the offseason, this would be a good time to trade back. I'm just saying, I know I've said this a couple times so far, but it's rare that we haven't seen a trade in the first 15 picks in the last couple of years. So, like Lewis said, I'm scared that Devontae Parker could be a pick here. They need a lot. They could use Bud Dupree. Bud Dupree is a great talent. But if I was the Saints, I'd be looking to trade out of this pick. But that's not good news for the Dolphins, because maybe someone's trying to trade up ahead of them for Devontae Parker. There's the Texans need a wide receiver, the Chiefs need a wide receiver, the 49ers need a wide receiver, and they're all kind of jockeying for Devontae Parker, I would assume. So this is kind of a stressful time right now for the Dolphins here.
Yeah, I agree with you. Oh, the Saints have their pick in? So it's not a trade then if they're already bringing their pick in, more than likely.
That makes me really scared that it is Parker, because they didn't even have to think about it. At this point, Parker would.
Oh, Lewis. You don't have to think about anybody if you're convicted. It could be Dupree, and they're like, oh, I can't believe he fell that far. He's an obvious pick. But I was with you, Jeff. I was much more worried about, because Parker makes so much sense for the Dolphins and somebody's going to jump up. But I got to throw this out there. Let's say that Parker is not the pick here. What are your thoughts are if Miami goes a different direction? I mean, if you had to pick a player other than Parker and he's on the board, who do you think they would go with?
Right now, if it's not Parker, I'd be so happy with Marcus Peters from Washington. You know, a lot of people are scared of Eric Kendricks, but I love Eric Kendricks in this defense. Eric Kendricks from UCLA, the inside linebacker, can do pretty much anything. He's great in coverage. It might be a bit of a reach, but you know, when in doubt, you know, take a player that you know is going to be successful, and Eric Kendricks is exactly that. So you know, if not Devontae Parker, I would say Marcus Peters or Eric Kendricks. I'd be very happy. There's a bunch of guys still available that I'd be thrilled with right now from Miami.
Yeah, Eric Kendricks would be the best need pick available. I would have been saying Collins right here if all the drama hadn't happened, because he'd immediately give them a starting guard. But they definitely need an inside linebacker, and Kendricks clearly is the top-rated one if you want a 3-down linebacker that can cover. Don't be shocked. I know a lot of people are politicking for Devontae Parker, but because of if he slides through here and Miami's has a shot, they may trade down for Devontae Parker, a team that wants him. So you know, I don't know where they have Devontae Parker rated, but that's a tough question. If you're the GM right now, and let's say you can pick up an additional second or third round pick and fall back maybe 10 picks or so, would you do that over taking Devontae Parker right now?
I wouldn't. I mean, I love Devontae Parker. I think his skill set is exactly what the Dolphins need. I mean, he's 6'3". He's a monster. He has an 80 foot or 80-inch wingspan. You know, you can throw the ball up to him anywhere. He's going to go grab it. He's a hands catcher. He's fast. He has long strides. Pair him with Jarvis Landry, Kenny Stills, Jordan Cameron, Deion Sims, Rashard Matthews, Lamar Miller, and this offensive line. I think you have a very formidable offense. I mean, very, very, very good offense. I'd be so thrilled with Devontae Parker if we can grab him. I don't think you trade back if you have a chance to grab Parker with the next pick.
Yeah, I agree. So I don't think there's any. Maybe Marcus Peters. I mean, Parker Peters would be the two players I could see a team being willing to make a move to come up and get if the Dolphins are looking to move back. Maybe Dupree. I guess it just depends on the team and what their desperate needs are. But we are getting to that point where, again, what Miami needs, you can safely get a few picks back more than likely. But what other teams need and where the value is at, I think Miami is going to have some people on the phone looking.
We got some cheering going on here now. I think they're just hoping and praying that this turns out to be a good thing.
Excitement in Dolphin land, people.
Here it is. They picked an offensive lineman to help out Drew Brees in the protection, and that's
And Lewis Sung is excited, as is the Dolphin Nation. So Miami officially has the option to take Devontae Parker if they want him.
I mean, they should. I'd be shocked if they don't.
I agree. I do think you're going to see Miami take their time here because I think they're entertaining offers right now.
Yep.
So
I wouldn't. It's not a done deal.
Yeah, Miami's completely positioned straight back to the draft. So, and as I was saying with the Ndamukong Suh, Miami needs some draft picks to fill holes in the future years. So they're definitely going to entertain the idea. It really comes down to, does Miami clearly have Devontae Parker as, far and away the number 3 wide receiver available? And I think they do, but if they're really looking at another receiver like a Dorial Green-Beckham or Jalen Strong or Magliore, they may decide they're going to step back if they can pick up some picks. So I'm not surprised the Saints went this way. They needed a stable player, and they got another plug-and-play offensive tackle. Those are premium in the NFL. The first round is where you go get starting offensive and defensive tackles. So Miami just is fortunate this year that they have starting offensive tackles, defensive tackles, and a quarterback. So they have a lot of flexibility here. So I have a gut.
Parker's name. They're chanting Parker's name over here. So there would be a lot of heartbreak if Parker's not the pick at this point.
I'll be shocked if they pick somebody else, but I have a suspicion
a lot of
they're
different
gonna
directions,
trade down. So I mean, if you want to trade down, this is the scenario they wanted too. So
yeah, remember all those Eagles talk. Remember, if we want to trade back to number 20 with Philadelphia, I mean, if you don't love Parker, you can always trade back to number 20. You can pick up Hendricks. You can pick up.
Exactly.
Out here. See, this is when Matt needs to come in. Well, here's a chance. Let's go, Dolphins. This is what everybody here has been waiting for. What do you guys think? Is it going to be Parker, or are they going to trade down?
It's got to be. I think it's Parker. It's got to be Parker. Right now, you can't pass him up, man. He's so good. He's so talented. It's got to be Devontae Parker.
Yeah, I'm feeling you. I've seen so many of these drafts that you just have no idea. I can tell you right now, those phones are burning up because there's definitely teams right now that could use Dupree, Peters, or Parker. And so it all comes down to what you're being offered. I mean, personally, if I were being offered an extra second or third round pick, and you're not falling back more than 10 spots in the first round, and you can pick Kendricks, I think that's probably a better move for the Dolphins for the coming year. But you can get an explosive wide receiver and put him in that offense. It would be nuts, the offensive firepower they'd have. And they definitely have.
If you guys are on Twitter, the Dolphins took Devontae Parker. According to Andrew Abramson of the Palm Beach Post, they took Devontae Parker.
Abramson's
Devontae Parker.
He's pretty solid, so I think it's the pick if they don't get it traded. So they'll probably go down to the wire, seeing what offers are coming in, and if they don't get what they like, they'll go Parker.
Yeah, if that's the truth, I'm not mad.
No, it'll be fun offense. Boy, the suspense is you can feel it right now. The Dolphin fans are getting excited. I still feel like there's a trade in the works here, people. Let's see what happens. But there hasn't been a trade yet in the draft, and again, Miami's uniquely positioned to be able to trade down. Oh, we got the fans live on NFL Network right now. I'm looking for you, Lewis.
Lewis is crowd surfing right now.
Lewis must be the guy wearing that aqua mohawk wig, I think, with the sunglasses, with a beard on. All right, we're coming down to the wire. Pick is in, so Miami did not trade it, it would appear. So I have to believe it's Parker. I don't know what else they'd be doing here. I mean, the only other outside pick to me would be Kendricks. I don't know who else they'd take here. So the linemen they need, they can wait probably into the second round at this point to target them. So I'm pulling for Parker with you guys.
This would be a huge get for the Dolphins if they do get Parker. I mean, Landry, Kenny Stills, Devontae Parker, Greg Jennings, Jordan Cameron, Ryan Tannehill. I mean, if you want all the tools, man, there you have it. Time to take the next step.
That's and you think about it, if it is Parker, having him with Stills and Landry so young with years in front of them, you really solidified your receiving core for the next 3 to 4 seasons, basically, by taking him.
Huge. I love the way they're building. If this is the pick, I like it. I really like it a lot, and they still have a lot of room to grow with the offensive line. I mean, the offensive line is young. The defensive line is relatively young outside of Cameron Wake.
Yeah, definitely.
This is a very, very young and upcoming team with Ryan Tannehill leading the way. So, if Devontae Parker is the pick, this is a very, very, very solid contribution to this roster.
Yeah, he does fit because they need a big receiver. I mean, that's clear.
He is huge. He's an 80-inch radius. I mean, he can catch anything in sight. So throw it up to him.
Yeah, you pair him with Jordan Cameron in the red zone, and you have some real vertical type plays you can incorporate that they haven't been able to use for the last few years with their smaller wide receivers. So,
Devontae Parker, he's an effort guy too. So he's not the Mike Wallace guy who's gonna try to one hand catch a pass in the back of the end zone. He's gonna go up and he's gonna grab it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm the crowd. Everybody's recording this over here on the big screen. This is going to be either a major heartbreak or everybody's dream come true.
Wow, this definitely was.
Honestly,
of watching the draft so far, this was the most drawn-out pick, without a doubt.
I guess they couldn't find anybody to trade down with, and that's perfectly fine, I guess, as long as the pick is somebody like Parker. And if not, the only other option I would be okay with is Marcus Peters. If it winds up being Kevin Johnson with Devontae Parker still on the board, I'm going to have a serious problem.
I don't see Miami going corner here with what they have on their team right now. I don't even think a corner would maybe even start for them, to be honest. It's hard to start rookie corners, and Will Davis and Jamar Taylor are young and upcoming. They've brought in 2 veterans. It wouldn't make a lot of sense for them to use a pick right here on the corner. We got Roger Goodell at the podium.
And the crowd wild. Everybody's high-fiving. Everybody has just gotten their dream come true. It's Devontae Parker. There's some guys really pumped up, like seriously pumped up. Fist in the air, screaming at the top of their lungs. Everybody's happy now, guys. Devontae Parker is the pick.
We officially have our big vertical threat. We haven't had it in a long time.
Hell yeah.
We had a vertical threat, just one that couldn't catch. Now we have a real one.
Yeah, you got a big one now, though. You can just chuck it up to these guys. That's it's a huge advantage when you have Kenny Stills and Jarvis Landry and Cameron Jordan. You got to cover this guy one-on-one. He's big and he's fast.
Okay, with that said, I'm going to go have to swallow. My battery's about to die, so I'm going to try and be right back as soon as I can. Just sit tight, guys, and have fun without me. It's Parker, everybody.
Well, there you have it. Dolphins Nation is clearly excited. This was the popular choice among the fans. We got him. There's been debate for months now whether he would fall that far or not. Clearly a solid pick by the Dolphins. He fits well, again, with the team. We've got a great slot receiver in Jarvis Landry. We've got a guy that's really good in space and that's explosive in Kenny Stills, and now we've got a big, fast guy to put on the field. I would not want to be the defensive coordinator right now trying to defend the Dolphins with the number of weapons they have.
No, this guy, he's such a tremendous addition to this team right now. I mean, he's everything that the Dolphins have been looking for the past 2 years. He's big. He's strong. He's going to run after the catch. He has a huge radius. I mean, I can't stop talking about his catch radius. He can catch anything in sight. So if you get a chance, anyone who's listening from PhinManiacs.com, go to draftbreakdown.com and click on Devontae Parker and just watch some of his games. Just watch him in action. He's so much better than what they're showing on the highlights right now. He does everything well. He blocks. He's so good off the line, which is going to make Ryan Tannehill's job so much easier. He has huge hands. He has huge arms. He's going to bring everything down. He's such a red zone target. I mean, anything you could ask for, Devontae Parker is that and so much more. So he's so good for this team, and I love this pick.
Yeah, and also it's not always easy for a rookie wide receiver to transition. I know it seems easy after all the receivers that did it last year, but it's a great fit for Parker as well to come in and be able to go through training camp and be alongside Greg Jennings. What a great mentor to have in there to help him out. And it's one of those things where Miami is not going to be relying on him to be a number one wide receiver whatsoever. He's going to be in with a whole group of wide receivers with a young upcoming quarterback. I have to think Devontae Parker himself is thrilled. I mean, it's such a perfect fit for him to come in without having a huge amount of pressure on him and just to come in and develop and contribute to the team.
Yeah, he's a day one starter for this Dolphins team. I mean, for the Dolphins, you don't need Todd Gurley anymore. You can just go. You can have your 4 wide receiver sets. You know, you can spread Jordan Cameron out wide if you want to. You're going to be able to have Stills, Devontae Parker, Jarvis Landry, everybody just kind of roaming the field and do whatever you want. They can all run perfect routes. Devontae Parker is so good at running routes. He's so precise. He's so long. Ryan Taylor was just shooting fish in the air.
You guys, I'm back on the phone, so
You're breaking up quite a bit, Lewis. We're having a tough time hearing you.
Is this better?
A little bit. You're having a lot of interference, so it's like when you're not talking, it's hard to hear.
Ooh, Chargers. Wow.
This is probably my biggest surprise of the draft so far. I mean, Melvin Gordon's solid, but for the Chargers, I'm kind of surprised. I mean, I know they could use a running back, but yeah, it really took me off guard. I thought Melvin Gordon would be more late first round. So this would be the first thing I would term as a little bit of a reach, not significant. He is clearly the number 2 rated running back in the draft, but with Peters on the board and Dupree, those are that surprises me a little bit. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm very surprised Bud Dupree is still on the board right now. Marcus Peters I can see because he's had those off-field significant issues. But Melvin Gordon, I mean, the Chargers were mocked to have Melvin Gordon for at least the last few months, and they ended up coming up for him. So I think it's exactly who they wanted, and they got him. But it is a bit of a reach at 15. But hey, I mean, look at what he does. He's been compared to Jamal Charles. If you can get a Jamal Charles at number 15 in this draft, then you're doing something right. So, I mean, hopefully it all pans out for San Diego. I just think it's it's a bit surprising with Bud Dupree still on the board.
Yeah, and I tend to get tentative on Wisconsin running backs in general because watching a lot of Big Ten football in college, Wisconsin almost always has a dominant, huge offensive line. And so, you see a lot of highlights from Wisconsin running backs because their line's blowing, the competition off the ball, so the running backs look great. It's a traditional powerhouse running football team, and so I always worry how well those type of players are going to transition to the pro. Similar to the same thing with Mariota, I get nervous on Oregon quarterbacks because their system is so efficient in college football. You always wonder how well those players are going to transition to the NFL, but. Gordon, obviously, he's fast. He's got a good combination of speed and quickness, and he's got enough size. He's not a power back by any means, but Jamal Charles is I've heard those. I've even heard him compared to Lamar Miller. I'm sure they'll put him to use in San Diego. I'm surprised that where he went for them to go get him like that surprises me a little bit. But
Yeah, I'm really surprised they went and got him like that. I think he is more Lamar Miller than Jamal Charles. I think he's a straight line runner. He's pretty good in the pass, but he's not Jamal Charles in the screen game. So
right.
I'm very surprised they went up and got him. I'm actually shocked with the amount of talent that's still on the board. I'm surprised that they made that move. But hey.
Yeah, they must have felt
Chargers.
somebody was targeting him, so it's hard to say where you're looking at. So now this is obviously way, way early talk, but now that Miami has picked, and we'll be headed into the second round tomorrow, what do you think on this whole La'el Collins situation? Everything I've heard, which obviously is nothing pertinent from where I get information, but all that's happened is he's just been the police have said he's not a suspect at this time, but they had to question him because they're trying to find the suspect, and that's all we've had. Obviously, there's been a little uncertainty with he traveled to Chicago and then he didn't go to Chicago, and I don't know that indicates whether he was avoiding talking to the police, or I have to think for a guy in his situation he didn't even know what to do because you're literally the day before the draft all this happens and you're in a free-for-all. But I guess the question is, knowing how highly ranked Collins was, at what point, at what round do you think you just roll the dice and say, look, if this guy ends up having nothing to do with this, he just was the wrong guy in the wrong place at the wrong time, for being ready to go to the draft, and he had dated a woman that ended up, unfortunately having that happen. When do you take that risk, Jeff? Or do you even take that risk?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know a whole lot about the situation, but see, that's the thing. In this draft, there's plenty of other players that can fill that need. He wasn't elite. He wasn't an elite player that I would feel like I have to take in this draft. So if there's any sort of question mark, a major question mark like the one that he had right there, you know what? I'm completely dropping him off my draft board. I know I might be in the minority in this, but at this point, I can take a TJ Clemens, or I can take somebody. I can take an Ali Marpet in the second or third round instead of him, and still feel like totally fine. So
Gotcha.
I think at this point, with all the question marks surrounding him, I completely take him off my board and let somebody else deal with it. Whether good or bad. Great if he pans out, great, good for him. That's awesome. What a great situation for him. But if it turns out to be, what it could be, and the horrible situation that it could be, then I don't want any part to do with it. So, I'm taking him off my board and just kind of going, moving on to the next person on my draft board.
Yeah, I understand. So I'm with you. I would say if you started getting into past the fourth, you start getting into the fifth or sixth round, if Miami, for whatever reason, the chips don't fall right and they still don't have their guard position addressed, I'd start considering it. Obviously, learning as many details as possible, but it would be hard to pass up when you start getting that late in the draft to roll the dice, and if everything comes out okay and he is indeed not involved in anything to do with that, then what a steal at like the fifth or sixth round to get a guy with first round talent. But I don't think the Dolphins will have a choice. They've got to get a starting guard, and I really think that's where they're going to be looking tomorrow in the second round, unless somehow they pick up a third round pick. But I don't think Miami wants to wait until the fourth round to address their offensive line. Maybe they will.
In this guard, if you're looking for a guard, I mean, this draft class is great. I mean, it's very deep in the guard position. You have Ali Marpet, who is completely versatile. He can do pretty much Aiken Tomlinson, AJ Khan, who isn't exactly a scheme fit for the Dolphins, but he's a mauler for sure, and he can definitely benefit from being next to Brandon Elbert or Jawan James, depending on what side he goes to. You have John Miller from Louisville, who's another good guard. I mean, there's so many players. The kid from West Virginia late in the draft. There's so many guards that can come in from day one and produce. So I don't think missing out on Collins is that big of a deal here. So I would just completely avoid the situation altogether. And the Texans just selected Kevin Johnson, who is a huge pickup for that. I love Kevin Johnson. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, he was one of
So
the most common players I saw being mocked to the Dolphins if Parker was off the board. Was
yeah,
Kevin Johnson.
I love Kevin Johnson. He's very quick. He's always around the ball. He does a great job of shadowing wide receivers. He has the potential, if he can get a little bit stronger, a little bit more physical, to be a shutdown corner. You know, a Darrelle Revis type of guy. He has such great footwork, such great hips. If you're watching ESPN, just watch some of these highlights here. He stays with the receiver completely. He has great ball skills. He's a tremendous athlete. So a good
Yeah,
pickup for the
definitely.
Texans.
Yeah, and that helps. You know, obviously right now that division they're trying to unseat the Colts, who I think are very unseatable. I mean, obviously Andrew Luck's turning out to be a franchise quarterback, but you know, I don't think the teams in the AFC South are that far behind the Colts. I think they're a very comparable team to the Dolphins, actually, what they've done the last few years. So this will definitely give the Texans somebody to pair with J.J. Watt's rushing the passer. So definitely a big upgrade on their defense to put somebody like that in there. So good pick for the.
I love the pick for them. That's a great selection. He's going to be a stud here soon.
I really thought he was going to be the first to go. I know Marcus Peters is very talented, but just because he's had some off the field stuff, I thought Kevin Johnson would be the first cornerback off the board. So obviously,
I'm still surprised Marcus Peters is still there.
Yeah, I think it's a testament where people are so nervous about using a first-round pick on a player that gets into trouble off the field. But it's not like, again, like he's serious trouble, but he's extremely talented.
It was more of a coaching. You know, he had a new coaching staff, and he didn't see eye to eye with them, and he expressed his opinion. They expressed their opinion, and they ended up kicking him off the team.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
and that stuff happens. But I mean, if you're an NFL coach, you don't want that in your locker room. So I can see why he's dropped here, but Marcus Peters is still a great talent.
If you're an NFL team right now that's in need of a one or two corner right now, I mean, you're getting to the point where you gotta maybe roll the dice a little now because Peters has the talent to be that, and that's something in the NFL you've got to have these days. Is you got to have at least 3, sometimes 4, especially when you look at what teams like the Dolphins are doing. You know, when you've got Jordan Cameron, Kenny Stills, Jarvis Landry, and now Devontae Parker all on the field, you've got to have a lot of guys that can cover, because if you don't, and the exciting part about that for the Dolphins is as you travel further into the season, injuries start to happen, and you're going to be going up against teams that are playing that don't really have a good third or fourth corner, and you're going to realize that you're going to spread the field and run a lot of 3 and 4 wide receivers because they just simply won't have the personnel to cover them. And so that's why these corners are so important to the NFL teams, because if you're going to try to match up against Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady, you got to have 3 good corners on the field at all times. And if you don't have some pretty solid safeties, you need a 4th corner that can cover. Or those teams just simply look for the matchups, look where the single coverage is, and they just pick you apart. So it'll be interesting where Peters goes. I don't think he's going to be on the board much longer, for sure.
No, I don't think so either. I think he might come off here with Andy Reid picking for the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, they don't necessarily need him. I don't know what Sean Smith's situation is there, the former Dolphin, but I mean, I would love to see, as far as coaching wise, Andy Reid could definitely put Marcus Peters in his place. I'm not concerned about that. He'd be a good fit in Kansas City, but yeah, I think the point you're making about having so many corners, I think that's a huge factor why the Dolphins got Devontae Parker. I mean, just adding to that receiving core and taking advantage of the lack of quality cornerbacks in the NFL right now. The Dolphins are just trying to get the upper hand here. So they have Jarvis Landry and Devontae Parker and Kenny Stills and Jordan Cameron. They can hit you from all angles. And if you don't have the cornerbacks, or the healthy cornerbacks even, to match up with these guys, then you're going to pay for it. And the Dolphins are going to put up some serious points next year.
I like it. When you play these teams right now, like Buffalo and New York Jets, the reality is both those teams have. I'm going to expect with Rex Wright in Buffalo and the defensive line he's inheriting, they're going to have a good defense. And obviously the Jets are stacked right now on the defensive side of the football. And so the best way to handle those teams is throw points up on the board. If you can throw up 14 to 21 points in the first half, you start to make those interior line's insignificant in the game, because at what point does it matter if you can shut the run down when you're behind, 14 to 21 points, and you're trying to keep up with Geno Smith, at quarterback, or EJ Manuel at quarterback, or Matt Cassell. I mean, that's the scenario you want. You want them teams trying to keep up with you on the scoreboard, because that literally takes away the strength of their teams and their run defense. So I like that strategy with Miami, that, in the way the rules have changed in the NFL, and the way the good teams are making it up to the playoffs and Super Bowl, are teams that can throw points up on the board and fast. So Miami definitely went that direction in their personnel moves.
Yeah. The 49ers just took Eric Armstead, defensive lineman from Oregon, right there. That was he has a lot of potential, but I personally I don't see it from him. He's a big guy. Given the right coaching staff and the right defensive line coach, maybe he can become something spectacular. But I didn't see it in college yet. I know if you're on Twitter, my buddy Ryan Boer, at Bootang25, give him a follow. He loves Eric Armstead, but I don't see it from him. I don't know what the Niners necessarily need, but I don't know. We'll see about Eric Armstead for the Niners here.
Yeah, I'm just, that's more, those 3-4 defensive ends that got to be very stout on run. I mean, he fits that mold, but earlier I was saying how keep an eye on Jacksonville. I think they're going to be a lot better than people are realizing, and similarly keep an eye on the Rams. I think both those teams are up and coming, and their defenses are very good, but I think you're going to see the biggest fall from grace out of the 49ers. I think when Harbaugh left, I'm not a big fan of their coach. I know he's a big motivator, but I mean he was just terrible in interviews, and
He reminds you of Tony Soprano,
yeah, exactly. Tony Soprano. That's exactly what he was reminding me of like, we're gonna go old school football. We're gonna get a huge line, and we're gonna just run smash mouth football. And he seems like that's where they're taking the 49ers, and those are the teams that you're pretty much done when a team throws up 21 points on you, because you just don't have the teams that can score points, and you can't rush the passer very well. And I just can't imagine Armstead's going to be racking up multi-digit sacks. He's more of your 3-4 end that can stop the run and has some ability to rush the passer. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't think the 49ers are going to be a playoff contender this coming season like the fans have been accustomed to the last few years.
No, and I'm not a big Colin Kaepernick fan either. So I think the combination of not having the passing game and not having the defense that they're used to having, and missing the veteran presence of their linebackers is it's going to hurt. I mean, not having Patrick Willis, not coming up with Chris Borland, I think they're definitely gonna miss a lot defensively and physically for the most part. They're going to struggle.
Yeah, and the division itself. I mean, the Seahawks are still a very dominant football team. The Cardinals, they've been improving steadily. You can't overlook the Cardinals, and as I was saying, the Rams.
The Rams, huh? The Rams are improving too. So
yeah, that's a dogfight division, and I just, from my opinion, the 49ers have been getting steadily worse right now rather than better in free agency. And they had that linebacker retire early, because he didn't want to risk concussions, and they've lost talent, and they're not that explosive of an offense anymore. Frank Gore is gone. It's going to be a tough year for them to try to compete in that really tough NFC West. I see. It looks like Ryan Thayer joined. Can you hear me, Ryan?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you loud and clear. We brought Ryan Thayer has come on the show. Ryan Thayer is kind of a fantasy guru, and we'd asked him to come on the show to kind of watch how the early part of this draft unfolded, and just get his opinion on what he sees as fantasy impacts, what players are going to go down in fantasy value, players that are going to go up in fantasy value, what rookies here he thinks are going to have some fantasy impact. So obviously, Ryan, the shocker of the night was Gurley going to the Rams. That wasn't really where he's been being mocked at, but he's there now, and it's unknown when he's going to play. Obviously, the Dolphins, which we're all interested in, just got Devontae Parker. But in terms of the draft, what was your biggest surprise?
Well, I know the collective groan from Trey Mason owners when Todd Gurley went. I think that was kind of a shock on my part. I think people had the Rams. I don't know what they're doing with the running back. They get Zach Stacy. He has a decent year. They go out and draft Trey Mason the next year, and now they're Todd Gurley. So I don't know. I guess I'm not a big. I think Gurley will be good, but you have to wonder if he's. I don't know. I just don't know what to think about that one at this point. I'm kind of high at this point on Amari Cooper. I think the Raiders are going to be playing from behind. I don't think Carr is as bad as people may have thought he was from last year. That offensive line really was not horrible last year. They didn't give up a lot of sacks. Carr made James Jones look decent for a while. I think Amari Cooper is going to get just a ton of looks.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. It's from the fantasy standpoint, you always want to be on the team that's playing from behind and has a decent quarterback because they rack up a lot of passing yards. So I have to agree. And clearly Amari Cooper is going to the Raiders to be their number one wide receiver day one. So I have to imagine he'll be being given a big opportunity. I'm with you on Gurley. God, I did not expect him to go to the Rams from a strategic standpoint, but as the draft is unfolding, I was talking to Jeff here, I'm just like, the Rams, they need a marketable name, and as well as Stacy and Mason have played, they just, those aren't guys that people are running out and buying their jerseys, and Gurley immediately gives them that. But it's crazy to think that, by adding Gurley, those guys are just going to probably be sitting on the bench, you would think, once Gurley's ready to go. So it's going to be crazy. So, from the fantasy standpoint, that's going to be another interesting question is, so let's say we had our fantasy draft tomorrow. How high do you think Todd Gurley is going to go, knowing that he's coming back from an injury? Do you think he's going to be in a draft that is a standard format? You think he'll go as a first or second round pick, or you think he's going to be a ways down the board?
I don't know if you guys want to get to a pick just came across here for the Chiefs.
Oh, let's see. Yeah, I see it's coming in right here. I'm not sure. They haven't announced it yet.
Yep, they already announced it.
Who was the pick? I'm running on delay right here. I'm watching NFL Network on the internet, so I'm about a few seconds behind you on who it was. But Andy Reid. What do you think, Jeff? Andy Reid's hard to tell.
I think the pick was Marcus Peters. I think the Chiefs got Marcus Peters like I thought they would.
Yep, you called that one. That's exactly who they took. So that's probably the last.
Great pick for him.
Oh, yeah. That's probably the final corner where I think you can feel like he's going to be a first-day starter that you can, as your number one or number two corner. So those guys are now kind of off the board. I mean, there's other talent out there, but I thought he was the last one where I'd feel like I could start him on day one in the NFL. Very interesting. Anyway, sorry about that, Ryan. I didn't see the pick was coming in. So
no, it's not a problem. Stop. You can stop talking about fantasy for the real picks. I'm here for the real picks too. So.
Yeah, of course. So for those of you that don't know, Ryan Thayer likes to follow the Cowboys. He's a Cowboys fan, so we won't hold that against him. But do you have somebody you're looking for right now for the Cowboys as their pick starts to approach that you'd really like to see them go get?
Well, I guess I'd like to see a running back in round two. Otherwise, just defense. I would be more than happy if the Cowboys used every single pick they had the entire draft on defense. Get a running back in round two. I like Tevin Coleman. Part of that is living here in Big Ten country. You get to see Tevin Coleman. But I'm more than happy with a running back in round two. I know now there's talk about Duke Johnson possibly at the bottom of round one here. The Cowboys might try to jump on him from Miami down there.
Sure, that'd be surprising. I mean, he's been moving up the draft charts, so you never know. How about with having marijuana possession and that's it? Would you look at Shane Ray maybe for the Cowboys if you're looking to bolster your defense? He's clearly a top 10 in the talent category that he's now falling. When would you pull the trigger on him?
I do not know. Does he have past transgressions? I didn't look much into Shane Ray. Does he have past transgressions, or is this his first one?
I think this is the first offense for Shane Ray as far as lawful convictions go, but we kind of when you see interviews from him, he kind of has that attitude like it wasn't such a big deal as far as the marijuana possession goes. So you kind of have that feeling from a fan perspective that he's done it before and maybe he'll do it again. But I mean, I think his talent outweighs that. I mean, marijuana possession isn't the biggest deal anymore, if we're being honest. And I think Shane Ray is top. I think he's a top 10 talent in this draft class, and I'm still surprised he's on the board here.
Well, I think the biggest problem with it is just for him and Gregory both. It's when they've done it. It's not so much that they've done it, but it's just that you don't have the intelligence not, or what's the way I want to say it? It's the lack of intelligence to do it when you do it. When all eyes are on you, and now's the time you decide to do this. It screams stupidity.
Oh, yeah, so true. Yeah, I can't argue that point. I mean, so yeah, they're kind of doing it to themselves here.
Oh, I agree that the stupidity part factors in, but I mean, at some point, the talent, outweighs the stupidity. So I just don't feel like Ray's going to fall, that far. I think as we start to get into the back part of the first round, from a talent standpoint, he's clearly a guy that could be a game changer. So I guess it'll depend on the needs, but we'll have to see. Just so you know, Ryan, on NFL Network right now, they've got, or I should say NFL.com, I think it's NFL Network where it's coming from, is Brandon Sheriff is being interviewed. They're showing him highlights running over the Cyclones. Obviously, like me, you follow the Hawkeyes very close. Were you surprised to see him 5th overall? You think it was a bit of a reach, or how do you feel he compares against some of the other first-round draft picks that have come off the Hawkeyes offensive line?
I don't want to be the one to rain on his parade. I think he's a really good player, but just watching games this year, I think you and I discussed it at the time when he won the Outland. We were both surprised that he won the Outland. There was times this year he did not seem to dominate against other top-end talent, and it surprised me that he wasn't better. I guess my thought on him and both the Giants is it seems like they've kind of seen, being in the same conference and playing the Cowboys twice, you have to wonder if they haven't kind of taken the same approach of let's build up an offensive line and try to dominate up front.
Yeah, I could see that. Do you think he'll transition to tackle then in the NFL, or you think they'll move him inside?
I think he's probably destined for more of a guard.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought too, that's why I was surprised they took him that high. Not that he's not a talented player, but usually top 10 picks in guards are uncommon. Usually you're going for a like as we were talking with Jeff Hyde, I thought Eric Flowers made all kinds of sense in the top 10 because he has the ability to be a dominant tackle, but dominant tackles are hard to get. Guys that can play guards seem like much easier to get in the middle of the draft, so it'll be interesting. I agree with you, Ryan. I watched all the Hawkeyes game this year, and for one, the Hawkeyes didn't play a difficult schedule or a lot of top-end competition, but I really expected for a guy that's going to be the 5th overall pick to see him just dominating in there, and the Hawkeyes should have been able to, run the ball with a lot more effectiveness than they did. So I was stunned to see him the number 1 lineman taken. I don't know that he rates as high as some of their past linemen like Beluga or maybe Riley Reef, even Robert Gallery that went first round. So I didn't think he was heads and tails above those guys. So 5th overall, I kind of wonder if the criminal situation with Collins and being attached to a murder investigation didn't play into that, because Collins and Sheriff were clearly the top 2 interior linemen anyway in this draft, and so it made me wonder if the Redskins felt like you don't take him now, you're not going to have a shot at a clear starter. But I don't know, surprising pick from a Hawkeye fan. I'm glad, I'm really happy for him. I hope he has a great career. So we'll see how it plays out in Washington for him. Who's on the board right now? We've got, is it the Browns right now? No, the Browns took Cameron Irving, it looks like, for their pick. You have any thoughts on that, Jeff? Cameron Irving?
Anybody here?
Oh, yeah, we're here, Lewis. I was just trying to, I think Jeff's stepped away, or he's not hearing me right now. So I can hear you loud and clear. You must be away from all the noise.
I'm actually headed back from the stadium, so.
Okay, okay. Browns just took Cameron Ervin from Florida State, so first center taken off the board. So again, as I was saying when the Browns picked earlier, I hope the Browns fans aren't listening to the PhinManiacs podcast, but I called
Yeah.
I called the Browns the biggest train wreck in the NFL the last year with Johnny Manziel and the whole mess with their GM calling down to the coach, trying to tell him how to call plays, uh, and their wide receiver Ryan Thayer knows full well their wide receiver situation, and you just think of all the turmoil that the Browns have went through. I thought this draft they were going to focus on safe picks, and so they're trying to pick up a guy they can plug in and start at center on day one. So it's not shocking to me to see them go with Cameron Ervin.
Yeah, I think it was a good. Cameron Irving is a great pick for anybody, considering the fact that protection is always a good need. I was actually speaking to Troy Drayton before we went, and he was maintaining that offensive line is still a big need, and he's hoping that that's what they do this for the second round. But hey, if Devontae Parker makes things better, then he makes things better. That's perfectly fine with him too.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there just wasn't an offensive lineman on the board that was a clear, like, plug him in and he's going to be this dominant guard. I mean, there's a lot of guards that they can get in the second round and maybe even in the third round if they make a trade or fourth round. So you're not going to get a talent like Devontae Parker that often where he's a big, fast wide receiver. So I like the pick. I really hope they can work out a deal for a guard and have room to get Denzel Perryman. I still would love to see him come in and be an inside linebacker on the team. But, just keep in mind from the Eagles, I really don't think Mathis is going to return to the Eagles. So he could be a guy that Miami manages to bring on if the Eagles end up cutting him. And he would solve the guard issue as well. So we'll have to see. Jeff, are you back? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm back here.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to give you your thoughts on Cameron Ervin, if you thought that was a good pick for the Browns or were surprised.
Yeah. I'm actually. I was surprised that Cameron Ervin lasted that long. Actually, he could be a center. He's a guard. His versatility along the offensive line is crucial for the Browns. I think that's something they definitely need to solidify because they have Isaiah Crowell, they have Terrence West running the ball. I think if you're going to do anything, you need to solidify that offensive line if you don't have a quarterback. So I think that was a smart, safe, solid pick for the Browns there, and I think he's going to be very productive in that system too.
Yeah, I agree. What didn't shock me at all. So are you looking at the board right now? So we still got Bud Dupree on the board, right?
Yeah, I'm
so
surprised Bud Dupree is still here. And,
yeah, I was going to ask you who's your best player available still. Is that where you're going? Bud Dupree?
I'd say Bud Dupree definitely is my best available player. I think that I had him in my top 7, top 8 all around. I think Shane Ray is still another guy that is a top 15 pick that's still available. For the Eagles, they could do wide receiver. I wouldn't be surprised if they went Dorial Green-Beckham here too to surprise everybody. But
that'd be stunning. But yeah, I wouldn't shock me.
Right now, I can't see anything.
Because I love DGB. I don't know if you guys know anything, but I love DGB. I love myself.
Yeah, we know you love DGB, Jeff. You've been on that train ever since the whole process started. He's going to be the next mega.
I've made this known for a long time. If you guys follow me on Twitter, but Nelson Aguilar is another huge pick that they could bolster their wide receiver core with. So the Eagles have plenty of directions they can go. We'll see. I'm surprised they didn't trade up. So let's see what Chip's doing right here.
Yeah, I think the cost was prohibited. Teams are wanting a lot for those quarterbacks. DGB would be shocking. I know he's extremely talented, but the 20th overall pick in the draft would be stunning.
Nelson. They picked Nelson Aguilar. I like that pick.
He's a little safer.
The Eagles took Aguilar, and all of Dolphins Twitter goes, no, even though they got Parker.
I can tell you confidently Miami is not going to be drafted another wide receiver high. I'd be stunned. Kenny Stills, Jarvis Landry, and now Devontae Parker are all multi-year contract guys that are cheap. So
I love this dude though right here. I love Nelson Aguilar so much. He's personally he can do punt returns, kick returns. He's so good after the catch. He's so fast. He has that acceleration button you can just press and he's gone. He's got great.
Yeah, I think he really helps them replace what they lost in Deshaun Jackson, that kind of a player.
He'll be one of the best day one guys. He doesn't need an adjustment time. He's very, very good right off the bat. So, huge.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people get shy away from USC wide receivers because they've had a history of bringing in guys that bust from USC, but I don't think he is one of those guys. I was really close with him on Miami if Parker wasn't. I didn't want to have to pick him 14th overall, but I mean, I was right there if Parker wasn't. I wanted Parker more because I wanted that taller receiver that could catch jump balls, and I don't think Aguilar is going to be that kind of a guy, but he'd be a great guy in the slot. He's smooth and he's fast, so I'm sure the Eagles will put him to work right away.
Oh, good, man. What a sexy pick for them. I love that pick.
Awesome. Yeah, the Eagles are going to be interesting. I'll tell you what, once Chip Kelly got control, he started wheeling and dealing, that's for sure.
So who's going to throw him the ball down there? Who's going to throw him the ball in Philly? Is it going to be Bradford, or do you think there's still a Bradford trade coming?
Obviously, Tim Tebow is going to be starting quarterback for the Eagles.
Unleash Tim Tebow.
I don't know if you guys saw the I don't even know where it came from, but somebody had that cartoon going around where it had the Eagles training camp, and so they say, all right, Bradford, show me what you got, and he immediately tears his ACL and drops, and so then they yell, Mark Sanchez here to the rescue, and he immediately trips and slams right into his butt and fumbles the ball, and then they said, Tim Tebow, Jesus says it's time for Tim Tebow, and Tebow comes in and hits himself in the head. So it's going to be interesting to see who is the quarterback of the Eagles.
Idiot.
All right, who we got right now? So Bengals are on the board. Bengals are an interesting team. They remind me a lot of what the Chargers have been the last few years, where they're always right on the cusp of being a good team. They're that wild card contender team in the playoffs, but the Bengals need that push to get up another level to make it maybe a game or two into the playoffs. And a lot of people use Andy Dalton as the bar of that's as far down as you want to go to invest as a franchise quarterback. Any worse than Andy Dalton, then you better be looking for a replacement. So I'm not a huge Andy Dalton fan, but I mean obviously he's what they're working with. They have AJ Green. They've got a lot of talent at the running back position. So I have to assume the Bengals are looking at defense. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, I think defense has to be the pick here. Again, I think anybody like Shane Ray has to come off the board here soon. If they want to go offense, I think it would have to be an offensive lineman here. TJ Clemmings would be a good fit for them. I don't know if I actually don't know their tackle situation, but TJ Clemmings is such a good value pick right here if they wanted to go offense. But I think Shane Ray would be good. Bud Dupree, of course, needs to come off the board soon. They can go in a lot of different options right here. So
the Bengals were last in the league. They only had 20 sacks last year. So
yeah,
I'm thinking somebody who can put a little pressure on the quarterback. Because in today's NFL, you have to be able to put pressure on the quarterback. Otherwise, you do all your defensive backs a disservice.
Yeah, their secondary is not the greatest, so they need somebody to put some pressure to help out the secondary. So I'd be surprised if it wasn't a pass rusher here.
Yeah, I really agree. I feel like Shane Ray this is where they may want to take the risk, even though he had the marijuana possession. He clearly would be the best pass rusher left right now. So it makes sense.
This pick.
And don't forget, the Bengals have not shied away from players that have had checkered history.
Definitely.
That coaching staff has done a good job. They're not afraid to take somebody who might be a character for other teams to plug them in.
Yeah, they've done a great job with Vontaze Burfict. Who else? Drake Kirkpatrick. Bunch of guys on that roster have they've had the character issues, but when they went to Cincinnati, they kind of straightened it out. So
Pac-Man Jones.
I'm not saying Shane Ray has character issues. You know, again, it's a marijuana possession charge. But I mean, right here, it's a perfect fit for him.
Having having a possession of marijuana, whether you believe it should be legal or not, and the NFL says no, so I don't see why it's anything up for debate. If the NFL says no, it's no. That just seems so logical to me. Why would you get yourself into that kind of trouble before making millions of dollars in the NFL? You've only cost yourself.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I'm sure that a lot of people, I don't know, I just have a feeling a lot of people are getting away with it in the NFL. You know, it just seems.
I'm not doubting that. I'm not doubting that. But you're putting yourself in danger when you do get caught.
Oh, yeah, I agree, Lewis, but it's I made this point to Jeff Hyde now. You know, it'd be different if he had like beat his girlfriend or you know something serious. But you know, when you're in your early 20s, you do stupid things. Now, a first round pick, you got to worry about it. And I definitely not shocked at all he has slid down, but I would say he's a top 10 talent in terms of his ability. And so when you start to get into these 20s range, it becomes risk versus reward. You know, if you can have a dominant Pro Bowl level pass rusher that, you know, he just did a stupid thing as a kid, you got to weigh that against, you know, what's available out there for picks. So I don't think Ray's going to make it out of the first round, and he makes a lot of sense to the Bengals, so we'll see.
So the Bengals pick Seg Agbui, who's it's kind of a surprising pick for them, but
Bowie? What?
he's a surprising pick for the Bengals right here. I don't know.
What is he?
Offensive tackle.
Oh, him. Okay.
Yeah, he's
Like,
definitely high pick,
heard the
though. He
name.
was
What?
targeted as a second round. That surprises me. A really surprising pick.
Yeah, I wouldn't have taken him there, especially with all the defensive players on the board there for the Bengals. But hey, if
And
you
you know
need
what's funny? You know what's funny is that the Bengals have had a top offensive line for the past few years, so adding more to it, I guess what they're really trying to do is they're trying to make it so that nobody can touch Andy Dalton, and hopefully that'll get him over the hump.
Yeah, maybe that could be so.
But you
Hey,
give him
Ryan, are you there?
I'm here.
Hey, well, I want to get your opinion on if you were drafting from scratch, which Bengals running back would you draft first?
Jeremy Hill, without a doubt.
Jeremy Hill. It's one of those teams that it's hard to tell what they're going to do offensively. So they got another lineman here, so you have to think they're looking to run the football still. I really thought they were going to go defense. That surprised me with the conference they're in. There's so much smash mouth football played, especially late in the season when it gets cold. You know, you have to be able to run the football. So maybe that's what they're thinking is power run. But man, somebody needs to be able to pressure Ben Roethlisberger and Joe Flacco in that division. So it'll be interesting to see how the Bengals defense holds up this year. Going there. All right, next on the board right now, interesting enough, is the Steelers. Steelers could go a lot of directions. It's hard to tell. I mean, I think they could still use some
Need secondary help. They lost Mike Taylor and they lost Palomalo. They're going to need some secondary help. And they lost Bryce McCain.
Yeah,
Right.
Landon Collins maybe for them.
Yeah, he'd be the top safety on the board.
Alabama.
Try to replace Palomalu. I could see that. I could definitely see it.
You know, he's not the greatest. I mean, it's a very weak safety class this year, but Landon Collins is the cream of the crop there as far as strong safeties go. And then,
Isn't Marcus Peters still on the board?
No, Marcus Peters went already.
Oh, okay. I was wondering.
Andy Reid scooped him up wisely. So
Yeah, Landon Collins. What would be the next cornerback on the board? Let's see.
should be Trey Waynes, but he's been picked.
Yeah, Wayne's. Ronald Darby probably wouldn't go here. PJ Williams wouldn't go here. I would say
It'd be a stretch, I would say, for those guys. Pittsburgh picked pretty quickly, so they must have had a conviction in who they wanted.
I wouldn't
I'm
be
going to
surprised.
go with.
I'm going to predict Bud Dupree here.
Yeah, it's a value pick.
With their other linebackers, yeah. They had Jason Worlds retire.
The Lions have traded picks to the Broncos.
Oh, okay.
Broncos
That's
jumping up.
big. Who are they getting?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know. I just saw the tweet from me and Rappaport.
Wow.
I don't really know the Broncos' needs that well off the top of my head. Who they're looking for? Maybe Kendricks. I mean, if they're looking for a linebacker, but I don't know if they need one. But
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting last half of this round here.
I am glad for my Denzel Perryman hopes that the longer the Kendricks falls, the more likely Perryman's going to be available in the second. I would love to get him where the Dolphins pick in the second round and throw him in there, but
Bud Dupree,
it's a
good
long way.
good call. Who's that? Ryan, good call, dude.
He called it. Yep. It's a good call. Collectively we've had a lot of good calls tonight on the draft.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
a
thought about the best Pittsburgh defenses. The best Pittsburgh defenses are putting pressure. They're another one of those teams that are putting pressure on a quarterback, and the pressure they put allowed Palomalo to be who he was.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're gotta put pressure.
Yeah, I'm a Bud Dupree fan too. I mean, he can do it all. He's strong enough to go through, blocks. He can go around people. He has nice bend around the edge. He's fast enough. He can cover tight ends. He can cover running backs out of the backfield. So he's one of those Pittsburgh players. He looks like a Pittsburgh Steeler, to be honest with you.
You're absolutely right. He does. I'm really surprised he stayed that long. I know. I mean, there's been pretty good film on him. He's played against some solid competition. So I thought he'd be gone in the top 15. To be honest, those guys that can rush from the edge like that and stop the run are hard to get. So good pick by Pittsburgh there for value.
Good value, great value right there. So we got a trade here. Is that what the rumor is?
Yeah, I'm trying to get an idea of who the Broncos are chasing here, like what their biggest needs are.
It says they need an offensive lineman, maybe T.J. Clemmings. Would they really trade up for him there?
Yeah, I'm surprised. I mean,
I'm surprised.
I don't know. So the Broncos would have been around 28, 29, I'm going to assume. So they jumped up about 7 spots, 6 or 7 spots.
Yeah, that's a big jump for a Broncos team that doesn't really have a lot of movement to, nowhere to go really.
Yeah, and they got salary cap and stuff like that. I'm surprised they're not trying to preserve picks for extra players. But the Broncos clearly have been selling out to try to win the Super Bowl. This will be the 3rd year in a row before Peyton Manning is playing in a wheelchair. So
that's all you can buy right now for Denver.
Yeah, Denver is Super Bowl or bust.
This is just speculation. But do you think that maybe the whole idea of playing with somebody who is as respected as Peyton Manning would make Dorial Green-Beckham a good fit for Denver?
Is this for me? Lewis, is that me?
Yeah, that's for you.
I think Dorial Green-Beckham is a fit for everybody. What are you talking about? No. I think no. Dorial Green-Beckham. I think if he played for Peyton Manning, and if he had the veteran leadership from Demaryius Thomas, Peyton Manning, the coaching staff that they have there, the new coaching staff, I think that would be a perfect fit for Dorial Green-Beckham. I just don't see this being the pick, though. I don't see them trading up for him at all. I don't think it's a need with Demaryius Thomas there already. I think they're very, very similar players, and I don't think there's a need for them.
The Broncos are also very high on Cody Latimer, who didn't see many snaps last year.
Yeah,
still got Emmanuel Sanders. I think it's offensive line. I think the Broncos know that the way to win with Peyton Manning one more year is you got to establish the run game. They're going to try to run the ball more this year, kind of like they did at the end of last year. I think it's offensive line here.
Who would it be, Ryan, here for the offensive line? Who do you think? T.J. Clemmings?
At this point, I don't think. Yeah, it's got to be. I think it's got to be Clemens, unless they completely shock everybody and take somebody like. Unless they completely shocked everybody and they're going to jump somebody like Lael Collins.
Oh God, that would be stunning if they did that move.
That would be. They'd have to have some inside info.
Well, yeah, and even if you did, you'd have to feel the need to jump up. So that's interesting. So my guess here for Ryan is they're going to shock the world and they're going to take a running back. Probably unknown named Pacquiao Mara from Iowa.
And who could be a dark horse here could be Max Williams, tight end, since they lost Julius Thomas. Max Williams is,
Yeah.
he's been
Yeah,
rumored.
I could see that. I mean, that's clearly a need spot. They need a tight end.
It's a very, very weak tight end class, and Max Williams is head and shoulders above the rest, in my opinion.
Yeah, now that you say that, that makes the most sense. I mean, they
I
felt
don't
like
think-
they need.
I thought that early in the year, but after they signed Owen Daniels, I can't see him cutting Owen Daniels for Max Williams. I can't see him moving up and signing Owen Daniels both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't see them jumping up for Max Williams anyway. He's a talent, but I don't think he's that special.
Yeah, it's got to be a plug and play player because the Broncos definitely are not looking for a guy that they see being a stud in the next 2 or 3 years because they're trying to win the Super Bowl right now. So it's got to be a position where they felt like they needed a guy that they could put in there and play right away. In my opinion, I'd be surprised if it's a prospect for the future.
Yeah. Let's see.
Maybe it's Perryman, wide receiver.
God, Brashad Perry.
Shane Ray. Shane Ray is the pick.
Ooh,
It is Shane Ray. Yeah.
wow.
Boy, they're trying to add more to that defense. Now he and Von Miller are going to make.
Big for the future. That's a good pick. Good selection.
Yeah, from a talent standpoint, that's the best player available, without a doubt. So, like I said, he felt like he should have for what he did, but he didn't do anything that crazy. So he's probably just a little immature, but he definitely can get after the quarterback. There's no doubt about that.
You know what's even better is probably the Lions trading back, probably acquiring another pick in this draft. So the Lions.
The Lions also received Max Ramirez, the lineman from Denver.
Okay.
Okay. So that's good news for Lions. Big trade.
Yeah, the Lions have been a tough. Last year I really thought the Lions were going to surprise people and win that division. They've had so much talent, but they just have never been able to put it together. So it's going to be interesting to see how well their defense holds together with losing their interior. I know they got Cannata back, but I don't know what to make of the Lions right now. If they're going to be a contender or if they're going to struggle with the loss of Sue.
Twitter is having fun right now, by the way, with the fact that Shane Ray is going to be living in Colorado, where we.
I never thought about that. Obviously, that's why they moved up to get him. They're not worried about it at all.
Oh, what a great pick.
I talked with Ryan. We talked about this in the past. How does that work from the NFL standpoint? Marijuana is a banned substance, but if you have possession of marijuana in Colorado, it's not illegal. So that'd be interesting to see how that would work out. I assume it would still be considered illegal for a league policy, but would not be against the law, obviously. But yeah, that's a funny thing on Twitter because you can say, well, if he does get possession of marijuana again, he's in Colorado at least. Well, that to me, I don't think. I think there's more to the Lyle Collins than people know, and it's been strange the way it's played out. If it were just simply he had nothing to do with it at all, the way they've handled it's been strange, and so. I just don't think you're going to see him go for a while, if at all, in this draft. So to me, Ray was the last guy that had a ton of talent that was on the board. So now I think you're getting into the area of the draft where you have some kind of issue you're looking at. If you're going to take a Darrell Green-Beckham, incredible talent, but is he raw? Is he going to be an off-the-field problem? You're starting to weigh those pros and cons against why they're where they're at.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of wide receivers go right here in the next couple of picks, though. Carolina, Baltimore.
They need them. Yeah.
The Ravens need something. I would agree. The Ravens offense. I mean, when you look at the Ravens offense at this point, who scares you?
Yeah. What do they have?
They have Steve Smith rolling around in his wheelchair.
Marlon Brown still a factor, or is he kind of a one-year deal?
He was a one-year deal. He did. I don't know if he had even 20 catches last year.
They look like a team that would love Jalen Strong for sure.
Yeah, that's. What do you guys think about Philip Dorsett? I mean, he's definitely got some speed.
I love Philip Dorsett.
You think he creep into the first?
I think he'll go here soon, but I think Jalen. There's a lot of good receivers in this draft. I think Jalen Strong will go before Philip Dorsett, but Philip Dorsett is probably going to come off the board before he should. Probably the end of the first round, early second round, I'd say.
Yeah, I have to agree. Obviously, Perryman and Joe Green Beckham have like physical intangibles that are amazing. You're not quite sure how long it's going to take them to transition into the NFL. I think Philip Dorsett, you could probably start a lot sooner than those guys, but he obviously doesn't have that vertical leaping ability and that those guys would have. Perryman's interesting. We'll talk about a guy that's been all over the board in mocks just because he ran that really fast 40 time, but I mean, other than running a fast 40, he hasn't done a lot of impressive stuff to me, so it's really interesting to see where he's going to end up. If I had to pick, obviously you would probably agree with this, Jeff, I would go with Darrell Green Beckham before I'd go with Rashard Perryman. But
if you guys follow me at all on Twitter, you know that Rashard Perryman is not. I'm not a fan of him at all. In the PhinManiacs draft guide, I gave him a third, fourth round grade, and I'm kind of sticking by that. I just don't see his hands being there. His hands are, hot and cold. His concentration is bad. His route running is, is hit or miss, and he's just not there. He has great physical attributes, but as a prospect overall, he's one of those guys that's frustrating. It's hard to rely on him, so I don't think he'll be a guy that's going to be drafted too high, and he won't be relied upon. So I put a third, fourth round grade on him, and I'd definitely go with DGB ahead of him.
Yeah, I would agree, definitely. So
I couldn't agree more. For some reason, I see Darius Hayward-Bay and Perryman.
Yeah, that's a very good comparison right there. Yeah, Darius Hayward-Bay, just so inconsistent and so frustrating is the kind of word I put on Perryman.
Yeah, and you just get in the NFL, it's so often receivers just don't transition well. I mean, and if somebody hasn't been dominant at the college level, it's hard to think, no matter how fast they are, that they're gonna understand the offenses, know the routes. Yeah,
DJ Humphries.
I agree with you.
DJ Humphries to Arizona.
To the Cardinals. Interesting. That's not a bad pick. I mean, from where they're at in the draft. Like I said, tackles are a premium, and so there's only so many of them that can come in and start. So Humphries is probably one of those guys that'll be able to start, as a rookie for the Cardinals.
Humphries is a guy that I think he could be, like you said, Chad, he's probably somebody that can start right away. And truth be told, if anybody could need some help, it's probably somebody who is like Carson Palmer, who can't run around anymore to save his life. So if he's going to be a dead duck in the pocket, you better give him a big pocket, and Humphries is a big part of that.
Yeah, that's a lot of truth, and that's a tough division, so it doesn't surprise me at all. They're trying to fortify their line.
Humphries is so good laterally. He's so good in the run game. He's going to open up so many holes. If they can find a running back to run behind him, I think this pick is huge for Arizona.
Yeah, like I said, offensive tackles and defensive tackles are always a premium because there's only so many guys in the world that are that big, that fast, or that athletic. So I wonder
if you think they're making a run for Adrian Peterson. You think the Cardinals have a chance, or?
God, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what the Vikings are wanting in return for Adrian Peterson, but
weird. It's such a strange situation.
I think the Vikings want to get rid of him and just go fresh, but it's tough situation for them.
He might come at a discount after this draft, if you think about it. I mean, he doesn't want to be there. The Vikings don't really want him, so it might end up being a discount situation. I think he'll get moved before the next.
I don't know. I mean, granted, he's had all the drama, but that's all the punishments passed. And God, the guy's just a beast. So getting him would be whoever gets Adrian Peterson, I feel like they're going to have a good back for a few years yet. He hasn't shown any signs of slowing down, and now he's had a year to rest, and wow, is he going to be trying to prove a point? So whoever gets him, look out.
The biggest obstacle right now for trading Peterson is his contract.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a gigantic, massive contract.
You can rule Miami out. They're not going to.
Yeah, please no. I don't want that. I don't want that contract.
I don't know. Miami couldn't hold it with Sue and Tannehill when those guys were on the books. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. So
Well, with Humphreys gone, I would think that T.J. Clemmings is the only option left for Carolina because, like I said last night on the other show, to have right now the Panthers tackles are Jonathan Martin and Michael O'Hare. So Cam Newton must be praying to God, please let it be an offensive tackle. Please let it be somebody on the offensive line. Please give me some help. Cam Newton's been beaten on for the past few years, and a lot of the whole he's gotten a lot of criticism that Tannehill has. He hasn't been able to get over the hump, and a lot of it is because he has no protection. So if I'm Carolina, I'm going to go get T.J. Clemmings now because Martin and O'Hare, that's just not going to cut it.
This has to be a tackle here. You have to think.
Yeah.
You can't go into the season with Jonathan Martin protecting your quarterback.
I mean, Jonathan Martin, he's probably in his third or fourth year now. He's extremely strong. Jonathan Martin,
very
dominant point of contact, leader in the locker room.
Mentally, so strong.
Like,
I hope he gets cut. Miami signs him just so he has to block Sue.
oh my God, why? No. Not even kidding, Chad. That just makes me want to. That makes me want to hurl, man. Don't even.
If you want to bring somebody in that Dallas Thomas can beat out, though.
Oh.
Yeah.
Chad, you're killing me, man.
Oh.
Yes, Dallas Thomas could probably be Jonathan Martin. Is that good for him? Would he like a cookie? What kind of cookie would he want?
If you're gonna do that, aren't you gonna play him beside Sue and let him go up against Incognito twice a year?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe the Bills will sign Martin. That'd be great.
Friday night sissy fights going on.
I would love to see the Bills sign Jonathan Martin just to troll him.
I honestly can't believe Martin's even on a team right now. I thought after he looked ridiculous on the 49ers that he wouldn't even get a spot, but I guess he's still got the size to be a backup tackle anyway. But yeah, that guy's he's a turnstile. I'm glad he's not on the team anymore. I should say that. So
okay, let's see who the Panthers picked.
Panthers could go receiver here too.
Yeah,
who's this guy with Goodell?
Who's that?
Walter Payton?
I hope it's not Walter Payton.
No, that's what I heard. Like, what? That can't be him.
It would be a miracle if it was Payton.
Oh, it's an award.
I'm not sure who that is.
Walter Payton. Oh, my God. Impossible.
Thomas Davis.
I assume this is like an honorary guy to announce the pick. Oh, it is. It's so Walter Payton's son, right?
That's Thomas Davis.
Oh, Thomas Davis. I thought they said Thomas Payton. I don't know who that is.
Oh, he's the Walter Payton man of the year.
Oh, he's the man of the year.
Linebacker, Carolina.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize who it was, so I don't follow the Panthers enough to recognize him.
It's like, Thomas Davis, who?
Either offensive tackle or they go Randy Gregory to replace
What about Perriman?
You really wanted to be Perryman, don't you, man?
Oh, Shaq Thompson.
Oh.
I forgot all about him.
Oh, he's an athletic freak, so it's an interesting pick.
Him with Thomas Davis.
Wow.
That's a damn good linebacking core.
Yeah.
I'm stunned. What's he gonna play? Is he a linebacker or a safety for these guys?
Hybrid. I like him. Him all over the field, man. That's what he does. He's a
Yeah.
running back too. He played running back for them too.
Yeah, he can play running back too. It's like, okay, great. So can he play quarterback too? What else can he do?
Well,
I'm sure he would want to play it too. He's
on the
physical.
bright side, Lewis, he's immediately their second best offensive tackle on the team too.
Oh, I'm sure he is.
They need a tackle. I'm so surprised they didn't take a tackle there.
Oh, Cam Newton's like, no. I'm still
Granted,
gonna die.
he's an amazing athlete, but for the Panthers, that needy at wide receiver and tackle to pick a guy that isn't a true positional player, that's just a really good athlete. That's
Here's
surprising.
Baltimore. Let's see if Omar was right, because Omar always, oh my God, pick is in. They didn't waste any time. If it winds up being Philip Dorsett, I think I might cry.
I think that's who it's going to be, is Philip Dorsett.
Don't do that to me, Chad.
What you guys got? What you got, Ryan and Jeff?
I'll take Jalen Strong here. He looks like
Jalen Strong.
I'm gonna go Perryman. Flacco likes that big. Flacco likes that fast guy. Flacco likes that fast guy to run down the field.
He won't catch Flacco's passes. He's got brick hands.
I don't disagree with you. I think Perryman will be the best wide receiver of this draft. I think
Who's your pick?
I'm glad we're all in agreement.
Your pick, Lewis? Lewis, who's your pick?
I hate it, but it's probably going to be Dorsett.
All right, so
and I hate
Lewis got
it
Dorsett.
only for the sole reason of,
We agree it's going to be a wide receiver, though.
Yeah, it's going to be a wide receiver. They lost Torrey Smith. They need a new burner, and that's why I think it's Dorsett.
Yeah, they could use a running back too, but I don't think they're going to go right now.
No, they brought back Justin Forsett. They're not looking for running back.
I think they won't go draft one here, but they're
not in the first round. No. This is probably going to be Dorsett, as much as I don't like it.
Who's left? Who are the top available players left?
Dorsett, Perryman,
all wide receivers.
Clemmings,
Piper, right? Yeah, Clemens. Yeah, I guess they don't need a tackle. They're good. They're set.
What do you think about safety? Think they go Landon Collins here?
Landon Collins is available.
It's a possibility, but I don't see that happening. I think they're going to look at their burner now because there's no one after Dorsett. The only other one that's got any kind of speed of any sort is Perryman, and Perryman plays a lot slower than his 40 time would indicate.
Did the Ravens sign anybody in free agency to replace Cannata?
Not that I know of. I mean, they've got a guy on their team. I'm trying to remember his name. That I think they're kind of slotting him in there. But I don't know. Would there be a defensive tackle on the board that would rate high enough to go right here for D tackle?
Oh boy.
Interesting. It's hard to say.
Dave Rapocio on Twitter, draw play Dave. He's doing parody pictures of all the draft picks.
The Ravens got Jernigan last year in the draft from Florida State.
That's it. I forgot. That's who they're gonna slot in there.
Jernigan. I wasn't a big fan last year. I don't know how he did in his rookie season, but they don't have a whole lot of depth. They need a lot. They're aging fast. They could use another linebacker, to be honest with you.
Yeah, their owner was kind of a baby, if I'm going to put it that way. He was ripping on the Mike Wallace deal in Miami, and the reason why he was bitter is because he realized that what their cap situation was and what Miami had set the market at wide receiver for a deep threat, that he wasn't able to afford to keep Torrey Smith, and the Ravens have gotten old and the salary cap caught up to them, and it's a scenario where the Ravens probably need to do a little bit of rebuilding. And they've been a perennial playoff contender for years, but they need some skilled players without a doubt to try to get things back on track.
Maybe it could be Malcolm Brown, defensive tackle from Texas here. They do need somebody up front.
Yeah, that's possible.
I'm seeing a lot of Rashad Perryman tweets.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not. But it's not like nothing for sure yet. Oh, here we go.
We do got the Ravens in Miami coming next year, so let's hope they screw it up.
Yeah, Rashad Perryman's the pick.
It's Perryman. Oh,
Ryan Thayer calls it. I can't believe he went in the first round. That blows my mind.
I don't think Perryman can believe it. Oh wait, that's not him. Oh. I thought that was like, oh, me?
Man.
I'm just not a big fan of Rashad Perryman personally, but hey, man, I'm rooting for him. Sure, I hope he does well.
No, I hope you're right, Jeff, because he's
even got.
Yes.
He's even got the Torrey Smith hair.
The Ravens have notoriously been a roadblock for the Dolphins. They've beat them in the playoffs, and they've beat them the last several years. And so I'm glad they took Perryman because he's a developmental project without a doubt.
So Dorsett's still on the board. I'm stunned.
Yeah, it's surprising. So we get the Cowboys coming up, so we'll see who Jerry Jones decides to pick here. What do you think, Ryan? It's your team. What are they doing?
Well, the nice thing I will say in your comment there is I don't think Jerry Jones is making the decisions anymore. Otherwise, they would have drafted Johnny Manziel last year, and they would have given millions of dollars to other people this year. I think Stephen Jones is now making the decisions down there. No, Cowboys could go. I hope they go. I'd like to see the Cowboys go defense, but maybe this is where they jump up, and if they know they're not going to get a Tevin Coleman or a Duke Johnson at the bottom of round 2.
Jerry Jones looks very happy. I'm guessing they know who they're going for.
How about Joe Green Beckham?
Wow, that was. They didn't even think about it. They know who they want.
Interesting.
Spoon on Twitter is suggesting Byron Jones or Kendricks.
Kendricks is a great pick for anybody at this point. So the Cowboys, do they need linebacking help, Brian?
Didn't they? Yeah. They re-signed Rolando McClain to the one-year deal.
Isn't he suspended? Didn't he get suspended again or no?
Did he? But it's not for the whole year.
I might be wrong. But
yeah,
I mean,
he's not a long-term fit.
Sean Lee is injury prone. They need a lot. They should probably take a linebacker.
Kendrick's very talented linebacker to pick this late in the draft.
Very. What a great value right here.
Randy Gregory isn't a bad pick here either.
No, talent-wise. What did he get in trouble for? He fell too for trouble, right?
Yeah, he got caught with marijuana in his system the week of the combine.
Okay. Yeah, foolish, but he would be a good pick for him.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say they will not select offensive line.
I do agree with that.
Yeah, that's a nice limb there.
Landon Collins, I guess. He's got to go sometime here soon. Cowboys could use the safety.
Yeah, he's the #1 safety on the board. I say Darrell Green Beckham to pair with Des Bryant, right?
Oh, that'd be nice. I love DGB.
You know who else might love DGB and could probably handle him, and I'm going to hate myself for saying it?
Bill Belichick.
Okay, then I don't need to say it.
Man, I hope not.
Cowboys pick is Byron Jones.
Good call.
Why are you spoiling it? I'm not. I'm having the. I had the cable.
Well, they haven't made the pick yet. They're still at commercial. I'm watching some kind of car commercial here.
Oh, I thought. So
I'm watching Golden Corral commercial. It's making me hungry. Again. By the way, the food trucks at the draft party were excellent.
Oh yeah, that's great. I'm kind of jealous. I would have loved to go over to watch that at the stadium there. Our fearless leader, Matt Cannata, is at Dave & Buster's right now partying, so I don't even know if he's still conscious after the Dante Parker pick.
There are people on Twitter actually complaining about the Parker pick.
Oh, no, that's a solid pick.
Those are the people who are saying that those are all the throws that Tannehill can't make.
No. We are so lucky to get Devontae Parker, it's unreal. What a perfect pick for the Dolphins.
Yeah, we don't have to address wide receiver for years now, guys, unless we have like an injury or something. But we've got an affordable, talented group of wide receivers, which is a great fit with when you got Sue and Tannehill. They're going to be having contracts.
Adam Beasley is actually tweeting out that he thinks that this group of wide receivers is better than the one we have now, than we had last year. He
I
might be
agree
the
with
only
that.
one.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I guess we could take a moment of silence to see how much we miss Mike Wallace, but I don't think it lasts very long. No, I think Beasley's right. I mean, I honestly, I watched a lot of film on Kenny Stills, and I think he's superior to Mike Wallace in space. Like, if you throw those short passes out in the flat and try to make people miss, I think he's superior. I'm not saying he's a superior vertical receiver to Mike Wallace by any stretch.
It's
but
Byron. Yep, it's Byron Jones. Okay, well, whatever.
And to prove Ryan Thayer wrong, Jerry Jones makes the pick.
Jerry Jones, Byron Jones, Jones.
Jerry's all excited.
Then along came Jones.
Cowboys made the playoffs, and then they got robbed in the Des Bryant drop. All right, who's that bring up? The Detroit Lions. They're tough.
That's the pick that that Denver was going to have.
I don't know that the Lions are going to go wide receiver at this point. They've got so much in their offense, I think it's hard to say with them. You guys have any guesses on what the Lions need?
They need a defensive tackle to fill.
Yeah, they need a tackle now. No Sue, no Fairley.
Yeah, I think Malcolm Brown from Texas he's got to be the front runner for this pick here. Maybe Eddie Goldman, Florida State. Carl Davis from Iowa if they want to reach a little bit.
Yeah, that could be. How do you feel about Carl Davis, Ryan?
I think Detroit goes. I'm going to give this pick first, Jordan Phillips.
Ooh, I like that pick a lot, though. I love Jordan Phillips. High upside.
That's my new guess there. What's not to like about Carl Davis as a Hawkeye fan? He lived in the backfield when he wasn't being triple teamed because there was no other defensive tackle to block him. Nobody else to put pressure. It was even during the Senior Bowl. I watched the Senior Bowl and there was nobody that could block him. He's going to be a good pick for somebody.
Yeah, it could be the Lions. Lions like Midwest
I
guys.
think Malcolm Brown is definitely the pick here.
I mean, the Lions are pretty solid in the linebacking core. They're pretty solid in the wide receiver core, defensive back core, I want to say. So it would make a lot of sense to go with Malcolm Brown there. Get that point in the draft where it's hard to say. I'm surprised Harriman went to the Ravens. That really surprised me. I mean, I guess they looked at his 40 time and really fell in love with him. But I'm really surprised Hendricks hasn't come off the board. So I don't think the Lions will take, or Kendricks, forgive me. I don't think the Lions will take him, but the Colts might. They may be a team that will look at him.
The Colts, the Packers. The end of this draft is going to be,
God, I hope the Patriots don't get him.
I'm ready for this. Patriots pick is going to drive me crazy. They have a lot of options here as far as Kendricks, DGB, a lot of guys that I love. So I'm kind of hoping they all go here soon. Lions pick. Ooh, guard Laken Tomlinson from Duke. Big guy, big body.
Ooh, dang it! That's one of the guys I was looking at for Miami in the second.
Oh yeah, I thought he would be there for 47.
Yeah, me too. That surprises me. They went that high.
He's a very, very, very solid player. He's a brick house, man. Nothing's gonna get by him. So, good pick for the Lions. Good safe pick.
Yeah, definitely. That's not good for the Dolphins to get him out of there right there, but
no. At this guard position though, it's very deep this year. You can go back from Ali Marpet, John Miller, Mark Glowinski from West Virginia. There's so many people late in this draft that you can take.
Yeah.
They'll all give you pretty solid performances. So I'm just a little bit surprised to see Laken Tomlinson off the board this early.
Okay, well,
yeah,
I guess the Lions aren't interested in rebuilding their defense. I guess they're going to wait for a while.
They're still trying to sign Sue, that's what I heard.
Yeah.
What is this guy gonna do for them? They don't have a running game. I don't understand what they're trying to go for here.
Well, he's a solid player, but
Oh yeah, he's solid.
yeah, you look at like how much better you're going to be from your team last year, and is a guard what the Lions need right now. You have
Yeah,
to wonder.
especially in the first round. I mean, you could have got the same talent, in the third or fourth round, realistically.
Yeah, first round guards that are true guards usually are second, third round guys.
Yeah, I don't see Lakin Tomlinson being, head and shoulders above the rest of the guards in this draft. But
No, he's not. Like last year, I can understand when you guys Chance. What was that guy from Alabama's name? Chance Womack or
Chance Warmack, yeah.
Yeah, there weren't guys like that from the guard position in this draft. So to take guards in the first round is a stretch.
Well, hey, if they like the guy, Detroit doesn't use a zone blocking scheme as far as I know, correct? They like power.
Yeah, they like power. I'm surprised they didn't go with A.J. Kahn, though, from South Carolina. Kahn, I think Kahn's much better.
Yeah. Interesting pick there. Surprise.
Woo! Okay. What's with the tongue?
Such hot takes here in this NFL draft.
Has there been a more anticlimactic first round of the draft when it was predicted we were going to have trades all over the place?
Exactly, yeah.
There hasn't been any action.
This is pretty subdued here.
Nobody wants.
I would say obviously the Gurley pick was probably the biggest excitement because you just didn't know where he was going to go. I really thought that number 2 second overall pick was going to trade out of the Titans, and they didn't do it, obviously. So I was just glad to see. I didn't want the Jets to get Mariota, so I was happy to see that because I definitely want to have Miami going up against Geno Smith if at all possible.
I'm scared to go against it. Personally, guys, and it sounds ridiculous, but I'm actually scared of going against the Jets now. I mean, that defense is now going to be absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, but you guys score points in the NFL.
Their offense is absolutely putrid. So
they may be putrid, but maybe they score all their points on defense.
No, they're not that good on defense.
We'll see. I don't know, man.
Yeah, who are their linebackers? I'm not sure if they have a linebacking core that's.
Do they need any?
They probably have
secondary, probably the best secondary in football, probably the best defensive line in football now. It's like, come on, man.
I'm still worried about the Buffalo Bills, actually, to be honest with you. I'm more worried about the Bills and Rex Ryan than I am Todd Bowles and the Jets right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. The Buffalo is going to have, with Rex Ryan, with the personnel, they're going to have a good defense. And, adding Shady to run the football, they're going to be able to put some points on that board. So I agree that Buffalo's made a tougher draw than the Jets. But
remember, we have Ndamukong Suh, and we just added
I'm hoping one of these the division's just loaded with defensive line talent. So one of these guys has to end Tom Brady's career and get him out of there, right?
Somebody has to. I'm praying for it.
Every week he's just gonna have beasts chasing him around. So.
No, I think we're in pretty good shape. I know we're all scared about Buffalo in New York, but there's really no. We're the same way. We've got Ndamukong Suh, Cameron Wake. I mean, come on. We've got Brent Grimes still.
Yeah.
We're still a top 12 defensive team, and we have an offense that's far above Buffalo and New York. So I'm not too worried about that.
We have Randy Gregory's on. I think this is Maylocks. It's Zerline's top 100. Randy Gregory, the 10th overall ranked player right now. He's really he's fallen away, so I don't think he's going to slip out of the first round. I think he's going
to. Armando on Twitter.
Uh-oh.
Shane Ray went to the Broncos, as in the Colorado pot is legal Broncos. The irony is thick.
And they traded up to get him.
Traded up to get him.
It looks like the Patriots have traded out of the first round.
That totally went out of my head. Went over
Really?
my head. No, they're the last. They're the last pick.
The Patriots have traded pick 32 back to the Texans, I think.
Wow.
Seriously? Wow.
Another hot take. Colts take Philip Dorsett.
Really?
Is
Yeah.
that what did that just get announced, or are you
This
just
is the Twitter? This is the Twitter sphere, so
Oh,
take it as is until announced. But rumor has it Colts take Philip Dorsett.
I
Yeah.
see that. I didn't realize they exercised the 5th year for Luck, so they're just following suit with what Tannehill had to do. But it's going to be interesting to see which quarterback is that massive deal, because Luck and Tannehill and Wilson, they're all going to be getting monster deals.
I'd be shocked if the Colts took another wide receiver here.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah,
That's
I
why
don't
I was
really
like,
see
wow,
it
they took Dorsett.
They need a running back more than they need wide receivers, and they need defense.
Yeah, they need defense. I'm going to go with Kendricks is who they're going to pick right here.
they need
Solid.
protection?
Yeah, they do, but
They need linebackers.
they need help up front on both sides of the
Yeah,
football.
they need a lot. If this is true, I'm very surprised.
They got to be getting tired of they win their cake division and then get a win in the playoffs and then just have the Patriots destroy them. That's got to be getting old. But the Patriots always exploit that they can't stop the run, and you know what I mean. I think they're going to look for a run stopper.
I love how on ESPN, Mel's Big Board has Lael Collins as his number one one still on the board. It's going to be there for like 3 days.
Everybody's tweeting that it's Dorsett.
Yeah, that's what I'm going off of here.
That seems surprising to me. Does Philip Dorsett make him that much better?
Oh, wait a minute. The Colts added Frank Gore. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. They
And
do have
Andre
Gore.
Johnson.
Yeah, but they added Andre Johnson too to Dante Moncrief and T.Y. Hilton. This is
Yeah, that's why I think does Philip Dorsett make them that much better?
Especially when they utilize the tight ends like they do when they have Dwayne Allen and
Wiener.
Yeah, they need a run stuffer or blocker.
This would be a really good spot for Malcolm Brown.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe they'll roll the dice on Gregory. That's a possibility, but I really think they're going defense. Dorsett would be nuts. I mean, they'll be stacked at wide receiver, that's for sure.
Yeah, but if you stack the wide receiver and they still suck on defense, weapons has never been Luck's problem. His problem has been he getting no help on the other side.
Yeah, ever since he's been there.
Dorsett.
Hey, they did it. They took Dorsett.
My God, that's shocking.
Oh my God, Dorsett! Wow.
Wow, T.Y. Hilton, Dante Moncrief, Andre Johnson, and Philip Dorsett.
So basically, what the Colts are trying to do is they're just going to throw the ball deep every single play, whether it's to Hilton, Johnson, or Dorsett. That's basically what they're going to do. Everybody's just going to run a 9 route and let's see which way Luck throws it.
I would say get used to Andrew Luck in the shotgun. That's what I'm
taking
guessing.
Andrew Luck in my fantasy draft. So
I gotta say, as somebody who owns Andrew Luck in a 12-team 3-keeper league where you don't see good players hit the market, I won't complain about this one for him. But you almost have to wonder if they don't have some kind of a deal for somebody like Moncrief, who came on, played well last year. We'll move him and maybe get a pick and let Dorsett take over a little bit in Moncrief's spot here.
Maybe, yeah. That's hard to say, but that surprises me. Not that it's a bad value pick, it's just from a need standpoint. That'd be like Miami drafting a DN.
Green Bay's pick is in already.
Boy, they didn't waste any time.
I'm probably going to keep saying this to the end, but I'm going Kendricks again for the Packers. They need a linebacker.
Dorsett and T.Y. Hilton are the same guy. I honestly, all I can think of is that they really are just going to throw deep every play.
Yeah,
they'll have Frank Gore, and they're not going to have very good interior play right now. That's going to be interesting. They definitely would struggle with Ndamukong and Suh.
I tell you what, from a fantasy perspective, we talked about it earlier. Man, Andrew Luck looks good, but he's going to have weapons all over the place. But if they've got Dorsett in there playing all the time, what wide receiver from
Hey guys,
Colts will you put in there?
Okay, so here's the next report. First, the
Uh-oh.
Patriots traded down, and now they have traded back up again.
Of course they did.
This is just what they do, huh?
That's a
They're-
Belichick move.
They're probably fleecing picks off people right now. I can't believe the Patriots wouldn't want to go get Kendricks if they can. I mean,
Are they
they need a
going to
linebacker.
If they get DGB, I'm signing off, man. That's it. I quit.
It's hard to say what the hell Belichick's doing.
Belichick is doing Belichick things.
Yeah.
Of course he is. He always does.
That's going to be interesting to see the net picks change if they traded down and back up. I'm guessing they acquired like an extra fifth for free or something, knowing Belichick. He fleeced somebody.
Shouldn't they get a third removed from deflating balls, or did we just forget about all that?
They're not going to do anything.
That's.
Hey, quick question: Has Omar switched over to become a Colts beat writer yet? With Dorsett, Gore, and
No.
Johnson all being there?
Nope. They
Maybe
haven't.
will.
But he has said that since they love Philip Dorsett so much, they picked him twice. So yikes. They're the same player. Yikes. That's yikes is in all caps. So it's like hooray.
He's going to go hard for the Miami players, like Miami Hurricane guys anyway. That's his end. So I'm sure Omar loves the Colts right now.
He lit anyway. Andre Johnson, his favorite player ever, Frank Gore.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're signing all kinds of them.
it's a UM reunion over there.
Yeah. Maybe they'll bring Reggie Wayne back.
First
They won't
report on
right.
Patriots is Malcolm Brown to the Patriots when they traded up. That's first.
They're replacing Will Fork, aren't they? That's
First report. I'm not sure. It's on Twitter, but that's the first thing I've seen so far.
So they're picking right now for the Packers. The Patriots are. You mean, or?
I think they're the pick after, right?
Oh, gotcha.
I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure. Just reading Twitter. I should probably get off Twitter here.
Why? At this point,
It's so credible.
I know, right? Twitter is so far above everything else right now.
I'm reading that the Packers took a safety and it was not Landon Collins.
what?
That'd be big news.
Omar, we've just debated that the Dolphins wide receiver will be better in 2015 than in 2014. Jarvis Landry improves from his rookie season. He's putting dots. I guess he's going to say more. But it's like, wait, did you just say that the 2015 is going to be better than 14? Are you sure? Mike Wallace isn't there.
How can he? I mean, they're just loaded. Miami is offensively, so I don't know how they wouldn't do better. It's not like they had a great 2014. So
Now we're hearing that the trade up or trade down rather for the Patriots was inaccurate.
I just saw that too.
Adam Beasley. What? Adam Beasley. One more thing. Rashard Matthews. Womp 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 womp.
yeah, he's probably not. He's
Matthews
gonna really.
is done.
Yeah, same could be said probably for Matt Hazel too. Unfortunately,
I haven't looked. Do you know if Greg Jennings' contract was guaranteed?
No, I think there's room for a get out after the first year.
So
Why are people booing the Packers so much?
the Bears. We're in Chicago.
Or are they just
oh,
booing
you're right. They're in Chicago. That's like the Jets.
Oh, the
Oh,
Bears.
that's right.
Wow. Oh, I hate that pick. I'm not a Randall fan.
Wow.
The Packers are a no trade, take the player team. I'm surprised though. I mean, that clearly it could have been a second round pick there. I don't know if the Packers could have gotten that late, but still, that's a bit of a reach.
He was a high riser on a lot of draft boards, but I watched 2 or 3 games where Demarius Randall was just god awful. He was just so bad. Couldn't tackle, couldn't cover. He had a few games, I guess, where he was pretty good, but I'm not a big fan of him at all.
Yeah, surprising. I mean, I guess when you have Aaron Rodgers, you can have a little bit more liberty with what you want to do with your picks and still be competitive.
He's a bad man.
That'll be
He's a
interesting.
great special teams player, I'll give him that. And that's about it.
Well, It used to be back when Miami was picking, they picked special teams players with the 9th overall pick. Kick returners.
I think this is a spot now with New Orleans where you might see your DGB go.
Yeah, I could see that.
Oh boy.
DGB.
Colston is old. Jimmy Graham is gone. You
How
need
about
somebody.
Jimmy Strong?
You need somebody other than Brandon Cooks. This would be a real spot for DGB here if he's going to make it into the first.
Yeah, especially with Dorsett gone now. They're running out of big play talent at wide receiver now. Hard to believe, but that's the case. So I don't know who I'd take Jalen Strong. He's more of a possession receiver, right? He's not a burner by any stretch.
Oh yeah, he's definitely a possession receiver for sure.
So I don't know. With Stills leaving the Saints, they may want to. Green Beckham may be a guy makes sense for him.
Might as well get a 6'5" guy who can run a 4.4.
Yeah.
Of course, this is the Saints. They could also use Landon Collins. They could also use Randy Gregory. They have a lot of holes.
The more I think about it, Jeff, I think DGB is really going to go to New England. I mean, if they're willing to draft Aaron Hernandez
Don't
back
say
then,
that. Don't.
I have to be realistic.
No way.
Belichick's too smooth. I'm going to say Kendricks is going to the Patriots. They're going to get a solid player.
They just brought back Gerard Mayo. They don't need Kendricks.
I'm still saying Malcolm Brown 32 for the Patriots, but if it's DGB, I'm just gonna have to completely forget everything I've ever written about DGB and just go against my word and just say that I hate him. I've never liked DGB at all.
Well, yeah, you'll hope he gets in trouble off the field then. I guess.
Yeah, I just hope he does something awful. So, we'll see. I'll always root for DGB, but I'm praying he doesn't go there. It's one of those things. You know what? Last year I loved Jace Amaro, tight end from Texas Tech, and he ended up going to the Jets. So,
yeah.
Now I completely hate Jace Amaro now. I respect him, but I completely hate him, and I'll probably do the same with DGB if he ends in New England.
Yeah, you always get those. I hate to use an Omar term, but my man crush definitely is Denzel Perryman right now. That's who I would love for the Dolphins to get, but we'll see.
Yeah.
You never get the guys you want. That's how it works.
I want
Marpet would be a good pick. I'd be completely comfortable with that, too.
What about round 2, Ali Marpet? Anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, you love him in round 2?
The left guard. It's Dallas freaking Thomas.
I still feel like Miami's got a plan to get Mathis for some reason from the Eagles. I don't know why, but
I have that same feeling.
I don't feel that way.
No.
No, I don't
If
see
not-
that. At this
if
point,
not-
no.
John Miller is another good name from Louisville. He's a great guard that'll fit schematically. Mark Glowinski from West Virginia. But yeah, Ali Marpet is so athletic. It's hard to tell where he's going to end up talent-wise because he hasn't played anybody significantly outside the Senior Bowl. But I mean, his measurables stack up. So in the second round, if we take Ali, I would love that. I actually work with his brother. At bartending, I work with his brother at my resort that I work at. So I'll try to get a little more information if he is the selection.
Sweet, you can get us an in then if he's on the Dolphins.
Yeah, a little inside info from Ali.
We'll have him on the PhinManiacs podcast.
We're getting the big names out here. So who's up next?
Omar again. Remember when I told you Philip Dorsett would tear it up if he ended up with a good QB? Well, several dots.
He's going to be doing his Miami love here. The Saints are bringing their pick in right now. That's where we're at.
To be fair, I'm sure that Andrew Luck is going to make Philip Dorsett very successful, but he's freaking Andrew Luck.
I don't know. I like it to keep the Colts down because I feel like the Colts are going to score points anyway with Luck and the skill players they already have. So, is Dorsett going to help them score that many more points? I just don't see it. So, I would much rather them add a fourth wide receiver than I gotten a dominant interior player and make them a real threat in the AFC. Cause the team, I'm always looking at if Miami does make the playoffs, who are you competing against to try to get to the Super Bowl? And the Colts are definitely one of those teams. So.
New Orleans pick is in. Whoa, Clemson, linebacker. Okay.
Hey, another note on the Colts, by the way.
Yeah.
They also signed Duron Carter this offseason.
Wow, not Kendricks.
Anybody else remember that? Duron Carter, Chris Carter's son?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What are they just going to play? Are they going to pull a Colt and just line up 11? Line up 10 wide receivers and let them block.
He's supposed to be good though. I haven't seen any film on him at all.
It doesn't make sense unless they have another move coming somewhere. They have to go through and sign him out of the Canadian. They signed him out of the CFL.
Yeah, that's strange. I don't know why they'd go that route.
I'm surprised with the Saints pick here. I had Anthony as the third inside linebacker behind Kendricks and Perryman. So
not Dawson.
I'm not a Dawson fan. It really turned me off when he ran the slow 40. I know he's great on film, but it's not like he had a slightly slow 40. I mean, he was running like defensive lineman speed.
Okay, so. I'm gonna say something that Omar said, and it's funny actually.
Uh-oh.
He says, my jaw dropped with Stephon Anthony in the first round, but then again, Jeff Ireland can't evaluate linebackers well. Carry on.
Yeah, I'll give Omar one there. I forgot who's in that.
Yeah, Jeff Ireland's in charge of New Orleans again.
Yeah.
Like, oops.
If you're not a Dolphin fan and for some reason you're listening to our Miami Dolphins draft coverage, Jeff Ireland was horrible.
Jeff Ireland was terrible.
One of the best tweets I've ever seen from Omar Kelly. I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
Even when it looked like Ireland was doing something right, he managed a way to make it wrong.
I don't know what they're looking at. I mean, I'm sure they see something I don't, but Kendricks is an absolute stud. I mean, physically, what he can do.
Health concerns are a big issue for Kendricks that have been.
Okay. What's pushing him down? I'm surprised they took him. I personally think Perryman's a better run defender, a better true inside linebacker maybe than Kendricks, but Kendricks definitely, if he's healthy, I guess there's your what if, but God, he can do it all. I mean, he's so talented from a pass coverage standpoint. Wow. I'm surprised he's fallen out of the first round unless the Patriots.
I'm stunned, guys. It's like if you messed up a little bit, you're not gonna make it. If you got a little bit banged up, you're not gonna make it. It's like there's a lot of talented people that are just falling by the wayside for apparently reasons that everybody's scared of. DGB, Randy Gregory, Eric Kendricks. It's like all of those guys would have been perfect for the Dolphins, and it's like nope, out of the first round.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll get him in the second.
Well, that's kind of what I was just going to ask. Who's the biggest surprise at this point? Who's the biggest surprise that's still on the board that has not gone in the first round?
Kendricks
to me.
I'd say Eric Kendricks for sure.
I don't know his injury history, but I mean he's a very talented linebacker, and it's hard to find linebackers that can play both the run and the pass as well as Kendricks can do it. And so, when you play guys like Tom Brady, he exploits that so much. So I do want Denzel Perryman because I think if you put him behind Sue, will just destroy the run, but he's not near the player Kendricks is in the passing game. So I'm surprised. I'm definitely surprised he wasn't the first inside linebacker taken. I really thought he was.
I'm also surprised TJ Clemmings isn't off the board as well, offensive tackle.
Yeah, that's right.
What caused Landon Collins' drop? I'm surprised nobody took him. What caused people not to?
Collins is pathetic, man. Collins is nowhere near as good as people are trying to make him out to be.
Yeah, he's just an average talent, I'd say. I mean, not that he won't have a decent NFL career, but there just wasn't an elite talent at the safety position. And the only reason you're talking about Collins is there's nobody else to talk about at the safety, I think. So
there was Randall, apparently.
Yeah, but I'm glad Miami got Delmas back, and I think Miami's in good shape. Rashad Jones obviously had another really solid year for him, and Delmas he'll be back. I don't know if he'll be ready for the start, but he'll get back.
Delmas will be back. Believe me, he'll be back.
And
let's not forget about Michael Thomas. Walt Aikens can also play.
I'm going to go out. I mean, obviously, Billy Turner, the number one guy I expect to see a huge jump out of, but Walt Aikens, I think, is going to surprise you guys. I think he's a lot better than people realize. I mean,
He's very talented. Go watch his tape from he played at the University or Liberty.
I did.
Liberty.
Yeah,
Very good player.
Yeah, he's got good coverage skills, and he's a big guy that can run. So I know they need to work on so he understands where he needs to be, and he probably needs to work on his tackling and run defense a little bit. But I think
Michael Thomas he'll step in once he's healthy, so I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah, I agree.
I've got a Bill Belichick question for you guys.
Oh, great. Here we go.
In all reality, do the Patriots have to make their pick now, or could Bill Belichick wait till tomorrow before round 2 starts to make his pick? Just to be an ass.
I bet he probably
only Bill Belichick would do that.
Only Bill Belichick could get away with it. Oh no, I take it back. Chip Kelly could get away with it.
What a great question, by the way.
Is there a rule that you have to make the pick now, or could you wait till tomorrow?
Here we go.
I would assume.
Please don't be DGB. Please don't be DGB. Please don't be DGB.
They would both be able to pick right away.
Yeah. All right. Malcolm Brown's the pick.
Malcolm Brown.
Good. It's not a bad pick for the Patriots, but I didn't want.
Okay.
Look at the excitement around him. Those people. Is anybody else watching the people around him that just sat there and didn't even smile?
For the Patriots?
No, for Malcolm Brown.
Bill Belichick's persona is just displayed completely.
They probably hate the Patriots.
So the bowling ball with legs has been replaced. Malcolm Brown doesn't look like a bowling ball.
Malcolm Brown is a very, very good defensive tackle. That's a great pick, actually, at 32.
Yeah.
Good value.
Clearly brought in to replace Will Fork, so that doesn't surprise me. There.
Yeah, he's a lot like Randy Starks, this guy, Malcolm Brown.
Starks seems like a more accurate description.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still surprised.
Because I picture Will Fork, and I picture, like I don't call him that just because he's really good. I call him that because the dude was round. Like, you could draw a circle on him.
At least he's gone. He was a dominant tackle for a long time for the Patriots, so I'm glad he's gone. Hopefully, Miami's going to catch up. You know, the whole league's trying to catch up with the Patriots in a sense, but I really am glad they didn't take Kendricks. I didn't want to see him because Belichick's so good at moving linebackers around and disguising what he's doing, and Kendricks would be great at that.
Wow, so a lot of good round 2 talent still. So tomorrow's going to be fun.
Yeah, it fell pretty well for Miami, I have to say, in summary, for the first round because, right now we need linebacking help and we need offensive line help, and looks like there's going to be a lot of it in the second round tomorrow. So hopefully they'll get their guy.
Well, I'd say that's it, guys. First round is over. Tomorrow we'll have to come back and do round 2.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for everybody that listened, and this will be available on YouTube as well if you want to listen to it later on tonight or tomorrow when we get back in the mood for the draft. Special thanks to Ryan Thayer for coming on, talking some fantasy football, letting us pick on him a little bit about the Cowboys, and Jeff Hyde, definitely a great background in the draft, so hopefully we'll have some exciting moves tomorrow, so we'll have to wait and see. But for now, thanks for tuning in, and everybody have a great night.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
You coming back tomorrow, Jeff?
I'll be working tomorrow, but I'll be watching, man. I'll be listening to you guys.
All right.
Sounds good. And we'll see you, Ryan. Go Hawks.
Yeah. See ya.
Good night.